Live.
Yep. Is there going to just be like a new wig every week? I feel like there's like a trend here now. Hello and welcome to Griefers Pub. Tonight we're going to be revisiting a topic which we had
Sorry about that.
last spring from an episode called "Is CIG Griefing the Griefers?" And joining us tonight we have Sphere as we discuss problems with CIG's moderation. Welcome, Sphere. How's your extended vacation from Star Citizen going so far?
Well, it just started, so we'll see how it goes for the next 25 days more plus.
Okay. So why okay, 20 days plus, what exactly happened? Can you kind of explain that? Just kind of interested.
Yeah, so as a lot of people are aware, Griefernets specializes in causing terrorism throughout Stanton. And so we go after people's events via various methods, but generally infiltration is our go-to, so that we have the intel available to do that sort of stuff.
You guys can all hear
one of
in
the,
Discord,
our
right?
latest hit,
Yep.
well, not our latest one. Not this last weekend, but the weekend before.
Mm-hmm.
So not this weekend, but the weekend before. We hit a racing event hosted by Onzia Racing.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey.
And then after I think like 2 days ago, we got landed with suspensions. And it was suspensions for everybody involved. So almost everybody involved, except for like 1 or 2 cases that got lucky. Which is around like 28 people.
I was going to say, like, some of these. So we were talking about this a little bit the other day. Some of these were first-time offenders too. It wasn't necessarily
vast
people
majority
that
of them were first-time offenders. Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. So where was the event happening? Like, I just want a little bit more info on this. Like, it was a race, obviously. They had security, right? No security or security?
Say that again?
Do they have no security or security?
Well, if you've seen Heavy Bob's meme about no security, they had a little bit of both.
They had security.
That's funny.
So they actually ended up having a lot more security than what was originally planned, because Spec Sniper's first squadron group got added to the mix, which we didn't foresee. But so they had about 10, 12 racers, and then the rest were security, and that was about 30 to 32, and they had 44 people in total, give or take 1 or 2, and we had 28 people. So and the racing event was focused around Miner's Lament. They were like carting some beer crate or something around the racing track, like a rally race or something.
Okay.
And so we arrived uninvited to Miner's Lament.
Okay, so Miner's Lament is right next to where? Just curious.
Is
that right next to Hex?
Yeah, it's a good neighborhood.
I was gonna say that seems like an odd choice. Why not? Okay, so it's Miner's Lament. Why not just host something like that in AC? Because I know that we have that map already.
Probably because of the limit, maybe. But I don't know if they have 10, 12 racers. I don't know why they couldn't just. I think isn't there like a 16-player cap for that?
Yep, 16.
Oh, you know what? It's because of the beer crates. They wanted to do the beer thing.
The whole thing was to like tractor it, or I don't necessarily understand. It sounds like a weird.
I mean, I don't really fully understand the full scope.
You were just there to.
I just know that there was some beer crates scattered throughout the racing track, and they wanted to pick it up or something and take it back to Grimhex.
So I'm guessing Griefernet was just trying to get beer. Is that the role play that you guys were trying to get against?
No, I think we
must have been pretty damn good beer.
We were already a little inebriated by the time we got there, I feel like.
Okay. All right, so it's a 30-day ban for this kind of stuff. That's kind of wild. Is this the first time that you have had that long of a prison sentence, or what would you?
So yeah, I mean, you guys see the screen up on the stream right now, the ban timeline.
So let's actually bring that up. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to run through it real quick. So Griefernet has had 2 major quote unquote event disruption bans by CIG. One of them being in January, and then 31 operations later, one just now in August. So, a lot of people are already aware of the experience stuff.
Yep.
And not as many people got slapped with a ban that on that time, but we didn't have as many players then. But it was like 8 players or so were suspended, and the duration was only 7 days. And then for the Onzia, it was 28 players, and the duration was 30 days.
Can I like jump on that? So you had 8 players suspended, duration 7 days. 2 players suspended, stayed at their station. So 2 players were suspended that weren't even a part of it, right? And what was the? Am I jumping ahead here? What was the reasoning for suspending you guys for the experience? If we could kind of like to start, like
excessive griefing. It was when they first pushed out the a new policy, the event disruption policy, where they are now punishing players for sufficiently disrupting player events.
Okay, but they pushed that policy after they had banned you at the experience. Right? Is that correct? That was post the event.
Actually, not quite. They did give us a warning. Can I just fast forward for a second? There's like a timeline.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, of course.
They gave them 2 warnings.
So here's the experience, right? So there's a bit of a timeline, and there's a bit of confusion as well. So like, the first attack was on January 13th. We actually crashed 2 events that day, 2 large events that day, and that was the experience and then TTO's 80-player event. It was like some OM around ArcCorp, and we just came in with like 20 people, and fucked them up. But then and then I think like a week later, let me back up for a second. So the experience had 3 cruises. We crashed 2 of them, and then one of them we just let go. One of them, it was in the one that they did on January 21st was the one that they rescheduled after we hit the first one on the January 13th, and they did that one successfully. And I think one of your previous guests was on that. What was her name?
Oh, Expat Brat. Okay, yeah.
Expat Brat was there for the 21st relaunch of their event. Pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
But then on the 20th, we hit the Daymar Rally. We say quote unquote hit. They run like 10 servers at the same time. We hit one of the servers.
Wait, how many servers? Like so they have multiple servers that are being used.
Yeah. Okay. They use like they do like 10 different servers. But yeah, we spent like 6 hours or like 6 or 7 or 8 hours trying to hit the Daymar event or one of the.
All right, but when you look at the Daymar Rally, we're looking at something that's like way in the past, right? That's like.
Yeah, though it's on January 20th, so that was the event that we hit a week after the first experience.
Okay, and there's no bans due to that.
No bans. No, we haven't gotten a ban yet. Okay, throughout this whole process from January 13th up to January 24th. January 24th is when we received. Where's the warning they gave us? This warning right here.
Yep.
Okay. And this
if you're wondering who gave CIG their data, you're looking at
about letting us know that they have updated their policy and that now there is they're going to punish people for disrupting large events now.
Yeah.
So we got that warning after the Daymar Rally hit, right? So if I go back to the timeline, we got that after the Daymar Rally. The issue is.
Can you actually? I'm sorry to cut you off. Can you jump back to that last screen? Yeah, I just want to read a couple of the highlights there. All right, so it's important to note that many of the player-driven events encourage PvP scenarios, and we do love to see that type of emergent gameplay when it arises. But there's another layer that is often labeled as quote-unquote piracy, when in reality, it's just a relentless pursuit to disrupt other players' fun. Okay, I see that. And then, so...
But would that not be disrupting their fun for trying to disrupt an event?
There you go. There you go. Let me ask you a question. How do you think they know how many servers Atmo is running? And let me ask you a question. How many do you think they attacked?
1.
All 10.
They attacked all 10?
They attacked all of them. He just said that.
Oh, I missed that part.
So there's a big difference in what Griefernets says and what they do. That's all I'm gonna say.
That was Griefernets. That Griefernets was griefing if they attacked all 10. But if they were just in one lobby doing that, I get it. But, oh, they're doing something.
Or,
Let's get them.
or how about this? I don't know. Keep it to in game. Keep this stuff to in game. Don't bring it out of the game, and then people are like, "Oh, well, here you go," and then pretend to be surprised. Also, again, you guys are griefers and you guys are espionage folks. That's all fine. There's a new gameplay loop now. Counter espionage. Us. You gotta watch out for people like us. That's what they should be saying.
We could have helped with this event too and protected it.
I know. Even though we were banned from this event, we still got 8 of them. I still got 8 of them, even though I wasn't even there. And I added that to the letter. I wrote, imagine what we could have done if we were there. I'm gonna write.
Yeah.
I have to declassify those. I'm just gonna do it now.
After the video's out, Restless, I'll have a conversation with you why community events like this, the idea of people having fun disrupting it is an unacceptable thing. Like why community events get kind of this special space.
Oh, that was loud. Yeah, I would think though, if it's going to be a community event, go to a private server or have actual CIG devs there protecting it within their addresses.
Or I don't know. Let the people who actively try to do the security. This was not an it. All I can tell you is this: look at how much nonsense and drama that could have been avoided if they just let us work. If we just worked together. A whole year. We worked for Anzia for a whole year. The moment we're kicked off, look what happens. I don't have to say anything other than that.
This right here, what they said right here, where my mouse is. Under this one in the middle makes a little bit of sense. I get both sides. I understand both sides. What kind of? Not attacking all 10 organized, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I mean.
Yeah.
But I see this side here, though, too. Right here. Now, if this happens in-game, in this 1.0, everybody has their javelins, Idrises, and everything like that, then you need to have security. I'm sorry. But if the alien, like we're the alien supporters and me and all my people and there's 800 player servers, you should have a security force there.
Well, it's almost like they fired the only security people on the security team who are actually good, us, and we were carrying the whole goddamn. Anyway, I'm done.
Highlight here says major disruptions on large scale events will need to stop. So that's them like officially saying you guys can't be disrupting major player events.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the issue with this.
Yeah, it's vague.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's super vague, and that was that's the core issue we've been having with CIG. This since January. Since they started being more draconian with putting out punishment.
Unless it involves a streamer we're friends with, talking like they're CIG is what he's doing over here in the chat.
I just want to know how it's vague. Anyway, that's just me.
Yeah.
For hitting events, right? So, like, what do you mean by disruption? Like, at what point does at what point does EVP become a disruption? At what point does an event become a large event? You know.
Well, I mean, you guys. Okay, so Sphere, you're really intelligent on this, and I feel like you guys do a lot of your homework, right? So knowing that the experience is going to be like a large scale event, it has a ton of streamers on it. You kind of, I feel like this is kind of one of those like fuck around and find out equations. You know, it feels like that, right? Like you guys did a lot of homework on this. Is it a large scale event? I don't know. That's a good question. What defines the large scale event? That's the issue.
That's the question, right? Because it's it's so vague. It's like, oh, well,
yeah, you noticed who's in chat?
Who? Where?
Spec Sniper and First Squadron and Min and etc.
This right here. I have seen this behavior, though. I have seen this happen. Basically saying streamers get privileges where they can't be PvP'd unless they ask for it. I have seen situations where people have gotten banned because the streamer said, oh, he was stream sniping me, and the person wasn't. Is the streamer had a bounty. I've seen that. And the person got banned, probation, whatever the fuck it's called. Suspension, I've seen that happen.
Still open for interpretation. How does CIG interpret that?
Yeah, I'm not going to stop the entire premise of my org. I'm like, okay, guys, guess we can't play anymore. Guess we can't do the thing we're all here to do anymore. Like they've given us nothing. They've given us nothing to work with.
Well, when we had that,
there's a
we
whole
had
wall of
that,
text of things to not fuck with. Don't go after
task, I
major
don't know.
community events. You'll be okay.
Yeah, we've been very clear about that.
Like, if they could dick around with anything else that they want to, I get this this idea of like, well, but our whole goal is to fuck with community events, and CIG's rules are don't fuck with community events. Not that difficult.
I want to. I have half a mind to contact these people and offer to do a response, like to a response interview. I'm not even fucking with you. I might even do that.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily personally do that. Let them.
Fine. I mean, Stan can dream. You have a good point.
I'm on the fence with this whole situation. I am in the dead center. Like, but as of right now in the state of the game, well, I'll give my full answer if and tell you if anything changes. But as of right now, I'm on the fence because it's only a 100-player server, and so if they are able to get more people in compared to the 16 people that are racing, then you have 30 people. You're already at half the server. If they get the other half, then they have the advantage. So I'm on the fence. If when we have 800 players, if you want a community event, prep for a community event that can be disrupted. It's a sandbox where that's allowed, or CIG needs to figure something out to you know. I mean, you can't like make a written rule. Oh, you are not allowed to attack an event. Then I can make up any event I want. Oh, I'm running this bunker. No one else can do it. This is an event for my stream. You know what I mean?
That's not how community events work, though.
I'm just saying, like, oh, my community wants to do it though with me. You know what I mean? So I'm on the fence.
A community event includes something like the Anzia racing events, the Daemar Rally, Siege of Orison, Jump Town. Although making an argument that someone's griefing Jump Town, I'd love to see someone who successfully argues that because it's a literal war zone. You know, like anyway.
How long?
I don't know. I understand both sides, but to me,
yeah.
And this is probably self-centered, but I'm overdue for one of that. I just can't help but notice when we're not allowed to work together with everyone, including the griefers, are upset. Everyone is upset when all of a sudden when we're cut out from the picture, and I cannot find that. I cannot tell you how poetic that is to me.
And if you want to say anything at all, Grim, if you want to argue my points, argue them. Feel free.
Oh yeah. So, sorry, I'm using the okay. What the fuck's going on?
Oh, you're doing that thing. Yes. Let me know if I need to pause.
Yeah. Give me a sec. I've got it glitching out.
Oops.
Okay.
I'm going now with Sil that kind of address that.
Step away from that for a moment. So what I was gonna say is that essentially, community events are generally defined as an activity that a reasonable portion of the community makes an active effort to like where is it they say that it says somewhere where it's like it takes more the time and effort it takes to disrupt an event is far outweighed by the time it takes to plan and organize one. That's a really generally a solid marker that most organizations and like MMOs and other things like that, basically even player servers, they use that as a marker, right? What was the level of effort it took to make the event happen?
Weeks and months of work, marketing, editing, countless human hours of free time, countless
on both
for
sides.
Griefernets. On both sides, and for Griefernets to disrupt it, it took them the same amount, because you have to understand, with all this evidence, there's only one of two conclusions, unless they're both true. Either Vex is an agent, and all the few other people I could name right now, but I won't. Either Vex is an agent for Griefernets, an advanced agent for their cyber warfare division, or he's so incompetent that he may as well be, or both.
It's a large-scale event. A streamer with 12 randos doing box missions now. I love Twitch chat.
Purposefully, I know, I do too.
That's essentially, like, in my mind, it's like how do I put it? I kind of imagine it as a kind of an argument that's not being argued on its merits. right? Like, what would that individual reasonably define as a coordinated community event? 12 people doing a box mission?
Well,
No.
they didn't say in this letter.
Well, yeah, but that's okay. How do you tell the difference between a taco and a sandwich? It's just a bunch of stuff between two pieces of bread, right? But how do you know the difference? Right? Nobody says there's a like perfect line between those two. But at some point, you know when one's one and the other's the other. That's probably the biggest reason why. Because I guarantee you that nobody in that group would say, well, this wasn't a community event. Because they already said they specifically target community events like this. That their goal is to
Good
be
point.
disruptive.
Good point. He did say that out loud.
So, you know,
that is a good point.
And it, you know, so like I think that's the other thing that kind of just shoots them in the face is that they're like, well, what are we supposed to do if the rules say we can't disrupt community events? Not disrupt community events.
Don't
like,
say you're disrupting community events. He did just submit that. You're absolutely right.
You know, it sucks that it becomes that kind of a situation for them for sure. But additionally, it just, you know, unfortunately, it's just going to be a reality of that. You know, if they continue to do this behavior, they're going to see more of their people banned, and you know, and they're essentially what this is going to do is it's going to make them have to find out where that real line is, and it may ultimately break up their whole activity goal. Does that make sense?
No, and,
like,
hey, it is.
We want to just disrupt community events, and then CIG says, okay, well, every time you do this, and we think it's excessive, you're going to get bans and suspensions, or suspensions and bans. And then at some point, you know, either Griefernet's going to be like, hey, we're just not down to do this anymore, or we'll just see enough of a refined line where they're going to know which ones they can fuck with and which ones they can't. And likely what's going to happen is they're going to find that line, and they're just always going to stay right on the other side of that line.
Absolutely.
Until they
accidentally,
you know, I'll say like in quotes, accidentally overstep, in which
is
a bunch
fine.
of their people get suspensions and bans. You know, so the fact that they say that they've done this with, what did he say?
This person in chat makes a good point. This warning came after the fact, after they banned him. They banned him and then gave him one. It didn't.
No, they were. He said it. What did he say? He was.
Yeah, no, this was in January right here. No, I was wrong. January 24th, right there.
They got warnings last year. He says they only got one. They got two. I know that for a fact. Now they got the first. I said I warned them myself too many other times. I said, guys, don't make it. I literally even said this effort. Please don't make me do it. Just change your fucking loop, please. Like. But they don't listen to me, and so we had to report it, and then we had to do it again, and we will keep doing it. And Graham, you're saying like, you know, they have to figure out where the line is. I can tell you where the line is. Don't attract our attention. Don't let us like find out what you're doing or notice what you're doing, because we will find out.
I mean, you can report on stuff. That doesn't necessarily mean that CIG is going to go after it. The CIG might look at the situation and go, it's not big enough to be considered a community event, or the disruption was not significant enough to warrant a response, right?
On that point, you have a good point, but CIG members are like well known to have their own racing team that participates in this. Like they attack CIG employees directly.
Because we had we had the Spectrum post, right?
My bad.
So by the way,
this is a long video.
He got this warning after they pulled a similar stunt at the beginning of the year. That's what he's talking
this
about.
warning was in January, so this was before the Anzia thing.
Hold on. This is what he's saying: is they did an event at the beginning of the year, and I think he said like one person got a suspension, and they got a message about what the whole.
And this is it. This is it. It's the date. The date is January 24th, right there, I think.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Is
this was before.
In January. This is the first. They got this after the first time they did something, and I don't remember what he said the first event was, but he said he did something in January.
Yeah, that's what this is for.
So that's what this is for, right? So then they do it again. He says they've done other stuff, right? There's no.
Yeah, he went over a timeline.
Yep. And then they did it again, and they did it on a massive scale, and they hit all 8 servers. And then there's a bunch of bans and suspensions and everything else involved because it was a highly coordinated mass scale event that they hit that then caused things to become that then caused things to become unfortunate, right?
Yep.
Cool. You're gonna keep poking the bear after you got told not to do it.
Well, so
then that's on you.
wrote up a
I'm gonna keep the video going.
It's
It's a 2-hour video. It's long.
What qualifies because this is too
Good
vague
point,
for
Phil.
us, and we want to make sure that
It's a long
the
video.
PvP community as a whole is safe, right? Because can somebody just stand up and scream, "Oh, it was an event," and then stop mass reporting, and well, we'll get into all that, but yeah. We had a whole thing.
I want to go back to that timeline too.
Let's go to the timeline.
I want to kind of illustrate as to why we didn't feel like we still felt it was okay to hit the experience the second time, because they give us the warning on the 24th after we hit the Daymar rally. The Daymar rally is like magnitudes larger of an event than the experience is.
Well, yeah, and I would argue too with the Daymar rally, if it's taking up that many servers, it would be hard to avoid you don't even have to server hop to probably end up on one of the servers, right? I mean,
so did the warning come after the Daymar rally event or before? Just
after
to avoid
the Daymar rally hit. But after the Daymar rally and before the second experience hit was when the warning came out.
Okay.
So,
do you think it's
we had no idea as to what that warning was referencing? We thought it was the Daymar rally.
Okay. Do you think, because I know that there is a content creator program with CIG through their marketing, do you think that created like a conflict of interest or more of a complicated situation because they have all these like faces, on that flight? Do you think that kind of created that whole situation in the first place?
I mean, maybe, but they don't really we had I guess we'll look at it later in the stream, but I have communications from Dracadius explicitly telling us that it has nothing whether or not you get punished for disrupting an event has nothing to do of whether the event is sponsored by CIG or not. So so like we literally do not have anything to work with, and like if CIG doesn't want us to hit an event, they need to clearly define what kind of events they don't want to be hit that they're using for like grassroots marketing. That way we know and can make an informed decision. Like there's just so many screenshots later in the stream that I'll show you, but one of them in that they says, Xylo and Dracadius they both tell us, oh, use your best judgment. Use your best judgment when deciding to hit an event, and that way you won't get banned. And I'm like, well, we can't use our best judgment if you don't tell us anything about any criteria about what events are prohibited.
So what you're asking for is, it sounds more or less like CIG needs to step up and define what those events need to look like, whether it be like a criteria with like numbers, or if it's a certain audience. I don't know how that would even work. That's
they need to define that, or they need to facilitate a safe space for these unique events, like a private server, for instance.
Okay.
I mean, I have a bit of fear with how they might define that, because at this point, although I know we're basing this off of Griefernets and the reputation that Griefernets has, right? At this point, it's like any event that's hit will automatically assume there's some sort of stream sniping and you're disrupting a major event. Now,
it's going to occur.
Right. Yeah. I mean, now I think it's probably pretty apparent that there's some reputation that's actually affecting that's causing these bans to be handed out so, carelessly, right? But still, I mean, if, and we talked about this yesterday. So if Grim42 is on a server where there's some sort of event going on, we don't follow events, but if we see that there's a major thing going on in the server, and think about when meshing comes, we see something major going on, we're not gonna be like, oh, let's like be nice and let them do their thing. Like, no, we're gonna have at it. regardless of how you feel about it, right? And if there's security there, that's their job to stop it. If we're unmeshing, the chances of that being a thing where we run across that is going to be much higher.
I mean, we could talk about. Let's talk about security for a second, okay? So that the Onzia event, right? So they had 32 security. Let's go back to that real quick.
But none of us.
So they had Vex Obscurum, Spectre Security Contracting. They had First Squadron, Nightingale, Ragtag Mercs, and this little org called Vertin and Intergalactic. Okay, they had like 5 different security orgs. What is the point of hiring security orgs if you're gonna mass report the people that you hired the security orgs to deal with anyway?
No skill.
Because that's the only way I see this.
Well, what was it you were saying that the security org was saying how they should treat the security was, oh, if you see Griffernet on the server, we all have to switch servers. That's the security.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I mean, that is a countermeasure, though, regardless, right? If you really think about it.
I did tell you we have audio of like their security debriefing.
We're not going to share that, though. Yeah, we won't share that, though.
Yeah, I'm not.
That's the craziest part to me, guys.
Okay.
Yeah, and then one of the
Add audio of the security briefing.
What does it take for Anzia to believe us? They
have a mole. They have a mole.
I know who it is. We know who it is. It's the guy who all of a sudden showed up, and then bad things started. I'm gonna shut up.
That one right there. No, how my mouse end up there?
The people in that meeting was like, well, the best way to deal with Griefernet is just to hop servers. Like, that's fine. I don't really care if people do that. It's just using the game to, using what's available, right? If the game allows you to hop servers, there's different servers,
because
whatever.
we are playing like an unpolished alpha. There are so many options to avoid said situations, and that makes sense. I get that.
Yeah, it's the mass reporting that I have contention with.
Yeah, they did. CIG did say server hopping is against TOS. They did.
I also, all of that is, and I gotta say that I believe in permanent effective strategies. That's a temporary strategy that we won't be able to do very soon. So like you have to come up with something else, though. It's just my point. And honestly, I know SFer is good at PR, as you see. He's not being 100% honest, though. Like,
oh yeah,
he what he didn't say is Griefernets will follow. They will follow the shit out of you.
Yeah. Oh no, I've seen that.
And which is it? Is this a community event or is this a small event? Because if he was just a small event, he's now arguing we were only attacking a small event. Like, no, we gotta protect everybody.
No, they're griefing people. There's no doubt about it. But yeah.
They're just mad.
Are you hiring? Is this like for the guys that are running the security out there? And if you guys are in the stream chat right now, like, is this what you are now? You're like, are you there to pew the bad guys, or are you just there to do the paperwork and just write down the names and then submit to CIG and mass report?
I mean, think about the number of people that you attacked in the first place, though. You're attacking what, 44 people? That's 44 reports potentially there, and that's a lot of like spam into the same system. If they're all struck, I mean that.
They want things to go to a team-based play. If an event is active and they don't go through development of effective security, such mobility, it should be seen as a learning curve to an open world game. It's literally one team going after another. The mass reporting is insane. Engaging PvP and then falling from mass report is a bad form. Yeah.
Who said that?
Hold on.
Kilo
Oh,
Rios?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not just this idea of mass reporting, right?
But they do. People mass report all the time.
Well, yeah, this is true, right? And I would guarantee that at certain points, Griefernets has done the same thing to somebody.
They did it to me and a few others literally 2 weeks ago. And I had to call, and I literally had to call CIG out on it in one of the concierge reports, and then they backed off. I literally had to say, I posted a video, and I'm like, no, it's enough. Stop attacking the people who help you for free. And then they didn't say anything else, and they dropped the case.
Yeah.
So
I don't know.
I agree with what SF. That's the problem. Sorry, go ahead.
So in essence, the way that it is right now is
Mhm.
that, right? So people go, what's the point of security? Security is to keep away anybody that's essentially not doing what Griefernets is doing, right? So like the smaller, uncoordinated organizations, the randos that might come in there and do stuff, right? That's what security is for. When you get organized organizations, like organized, when you get people that are organized into a singular unit
Mhm.
with the sole goal of disruption, that's like the difference between a street dealer and a drug drug empire, right? Your street dealers, probably maybe 1 to 5 guys, maybe a couple more, trying to pull something stupid. Pablo Escobar is essentially Griefernet, doing all of the steps and organization and coordination and infiltration and all that other stuff to get inside of this event to just do nothing more than disrupt it. Right?
Yep.
So why
And the security
is
should have tried to stop it, but they didn't. Is what I'm getting
this
from
is
it. But yeah.
I guess it becomes a question of how do they try to stop it? And if it became such a thing that, like, hey, stream sniping, harassment, excessive griefing, right? What could Griefernet have done? They could have put up videos and said, hey, this is our evidence that it didn't happen. And CIG goes, hey, we sent you a message saying you shouldn't be doing this stuff.
Mhm.
You made a bad call. We already told you that was the case, and you did it, and now you're getting punished based on the things we already gave you warnings on, right? So this is partially why I'm like, okay, I get why they do it. I don't agree with it, and I don't like it. I'm fine with that, right? I can also step away from that point of view and say, look, they were already warned that they should not be doing these things, and they'll have to make judgment calls. And I
Well,
can get us.
let's. We still got an hour and a half left, and
Keep
so
going.
I'm sure that they'll come across that and their reason for doing it and everything. We don't know. We just got into it.
That's true. All right,
But,
I acknowledge that.
Yeah.
It's like saying mass
No,
reporting.
I'm not like trying to argue with you.
Doesn't make any
I
sense when
see.
there's what,
No,
like
no, no.
30,
I think
40,
we'll have those
I don't know how many
answered here.
people were actually involved in that, but
Oh, the
it
experience
seems like
had
those numbers
had a
would.
similar amount of people. I think there was
Okay,
like
that was
30
funny.
something,
Yeah.
30, 40
Well,
people involved in it too.
Yeah, but here's the other thing. CIG is aware that they have weaponized the reporting system. Like, it's not like a secret. Like, they know that's a thing that they're doing, right? They have, what was it you were saying? They have like keywords, right? That they have to make sure is on the reports, right?
Oh yeah,
Like,
yeah. Let's hold on. Let's
We
stop
can
there
bring
for a
that up
second.
really
Put a
quick.
pin in that. I want to show
Yep,
you.
let's do that.
So you're referencing that, right? So the experience, the people who organized the experience,
yeah.
after that had happened, they sent out an announcement to the rest of their community, um, like giving them like a template of a
Oh,
report.
buzzwords. There it is.
Yeah, and then
Interesting.
someone who I don't know who the someone was, but someone told them to include a bunch of buzzwords to make it to where the report is taken more seriously.
Interesting.
So like clearly the report system is being abused, man.
Okay, and that's kind of why I wanted to jump on that, because I don't know if CIG is aware of this,
but I can get why they feel that way.
If there's no repercussion, you're encouraging this, right? So it's going to get worse because it's going to continue spreading throughout the PvE community, and they're going to say all we have to do is A, B, and C. Use these buzzwords, blah blah blah, right? Get enough reports. Yeah,
it creates like a sense of entitlement almost.
Yeah, and it's encouraging people to continue doing this, and what that does is it further floods their.
They got griefed by their security.
That's
they
going to create
hired
more
instead of
issues for
PvP
CIG.
players.
Like something like this needs to be discouraged, and if there's evidence of it happening, and it's brought to CIG, there should be some repercussion for it.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing, man. Like we're talking about how this is wrong. The CIG, it's not. Here, let me just fast forward. Okay, I got some more evidence for you. Give me 1 second. So, where is it?
So many slides.
Right here.
My God.
Okay. So this is fast forward past the experience, past one of the this was after one of y'all's episodes of Griefers Pub where you had Syl as a guest.
Guilt by association.
Xylo, Dracadius, and Will joined your community, and then they joined Griefernet's like sister community, Cogum Discord, and then they talked with us for a bit. and we were asking them questions. And I blatantly asked them, like, hey guys, is intentionally flooding your ticket queue for a single issue against the TOS? And as you can see out here outlined in red, I will. It is not against the TOS. Flooding the ticket queue is not against the TOS. So it just seems like this is.
I mean, why not?
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Good question.
I mean, is that
like
wrong?
Because how do you determine it's
no, because
how do you determine it's
abusing the
full-fledged
system is wrong?
versus,
I was going to say, it feels like
versus legitimate? Right? That's almost the same thing like accusing people of griefing. The problem is it's easier to prove people are griefing than it is to prove somebody's flooding. Does that make sense?
In a way.
I'm not
Yeah,
necessarily
so
saying
like-
it's right, mind you, but I am saying I understand why they say it's not a TOS violation.
A
Yeah.
dedicated system that could be used for
Maybe
something
I'll
else.
think on that one.
In fact, I'm a little bit surprised that like
I'll
you know
think on that
CIG
one.
hasn't created like an integrated report system. Like we're still relying on what Spectrum at this point. I think that's an issue, right?
Well, here's
It
my
doesn't make any
here's my
sense.
fear about an embedded report system too. Like, what are they
Yeah.
gonna? We want to cut down on manpower to deal with these reports, right? But like, so what are they gonna do? They're gonna put an automated system in. That just
Okay.
sounds dystopic to me, to be honest. To put in an
That'd be
automated
terrible.
system.
An automated system.
It's like after a certain threshold is met, then just automatic penalties are dished out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
So
That would
what
make
could
it even
be
worse.
done to
Yeah.
prevent like mass reports?
I think
it would have to
ideally-
be like part of like code of conduct at that point, right?
Well, I would think that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But again, how do you deal with like a situation where you guys strike an event and then you know everybody, maybe there was stream sniping, I don't know, that's one of those weird things that's really hard to prove in like reports unless someone is continuously like following someone on the server or
I don't
server
think it's that
hopping
hard to
from, like, point A
prove.
to
I
point B.
think like one of the things is that if the reports all follow a specific pattern and they all come in all at the same time, I think that's pretty obvious.
Well,
right?
here, let me bite back on that a bit, okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
So here's what Xylo said in y'all's stream chat during that episode with Still.
I remember.
I outlined, you know, infiltration, and this isn't the first time they've said this to us. Infiltration is a viable playstyle. In fact, they have
Correct.
infiltration
Yeah, I
as
agree
one
with
of
that.
the categories you can select
My issue with it is
as
not
like something that you can
infiltration.
label a new org. When you create an org, it's like a
Yeah.
list of categories that you can select
I agree.
kind of
with
label
this.
your org. And infiltration is one of them. Okay.
Yeah, and
Is
so
this okay? So
if y'all
but
wanna-
is this on the like Robert Space Industries like web pages? Is it
Yeah.
under like an official document? Where would that be? That would be under the. Is that
it's
under
when you're
sales?
it's when you're creating your org.
Oh, you're talking
far
about
as
the
I know.
subsection, but they should.
but here's the thing too: is they can't be like, oh, well, we mean infiltration. That's not through meta gaming because there's no internal like mechanics.
There's no systems to.
There's
actually
no
use that,
systems
right.
in the game, and the only way that you could possibly do any type of infiltration has to be through Discord because literally Discord
it's where the
drives
information
orgs
is.
and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where the information is, and that's going to remain true even if they do put in in-game systems because people are not going to like, okay, they implemented org chat in game. Let's stop using Discord. That's not how that's going to work.
It's not going to happen because it's not streamlined enough. It's not
Yeah.
integrated into like
No.
multi-classes.
Yeah.
Even then, it's going to be clunky as hell. You know.
Yeah.
Let me circle back around and tell you why I want to
Before
bite
we
back at
do
what
that,
you,
I just want to
Sorry?
say I wish that something like this was posted on like one of the Spectrum pages from like an official mod because I don't know if like say a Twitch message holds a lot of merit. That's the issue that I see with this. It's in a weird spot that, you know, this is under someone's personal account on Twitch. So that doesn't necessarily mean that that is CIG's, you know, thoughts on the whole, like, you know,
I mean,
gameplay.
it's on their
is a viable
official
playstyle.
RSI site.
If we're talking about like the subsections for creating the orgs,
Yeah.
espionage. Oh yeah, you know what? Actually, I didn't see the espionage. I saw infiltration. I was thinking more like busting into ships and stuff like that. But it is kind of curious how that's going to look when the game is a little bit more like fleshed out. You know what I mean?
Well, and you have to consider this too. Like, even when the game is more fleshed out, it's hard to pull people out of something they've used for so long in the creation of the game. Where if they go live, people aren't just going to switch over to whatever internal programs they use for the game now, right? Because we're all accustomed to this whole Discord. Like we have PFPs designed for the org through Discord, right? It's so you're not going to be able to just tear everybody away from Discord completely anyway, right? The people are going to continue doing their event planning through it and stuff like that. So it's not as if that would suddenly change overnight.
Yeah, but like,
Okay.
so if you guys want to talk about reputation, I'm like, oh well, you know, Griefernet has a reputation of stream sniping. We have a reputation of infiltrating as well. You know,
Yeah.
like what?
Well, you have a reputation of pissing people off.
Does Griefernets?
Well, that's just the result of
maybe my
PvPing
question
people
for you
who
is
don't
for-
want to be PvP'd.
But does
You know what I mean?
does Griefernet stream snipe?
Wait,
as
wait,
like
hold
a
on,
method
Can you
of like
pause that for a
tactic for
second?
like espionage?
Did he just say that he pisses people off because they're PvPers who don't want to do PvP?
No, I don't think so.
I
Also,
think you just said people that don't want to PvP.
Oh, people that
part
don't want to PvP. I'm sorry.
and the part he didn't say is Griefernet agents openly openly brag in writing about stream sniping. So that's the part he didn't say.
For operations, no, there have
operations?
been individuals who have stream sniped. Yes.
So how can we?
He admitted it there.
How can we rely on that as like a viable playstyle if that's also against TOS? Because stream sniping has been listed under what that the excessive griefing post. It's not like the most. It's just as vague as everything else they posted, but it's more than a lot of things. I'll post it there.
If somebody's caught, if they have evidence of stream sniping, like an individual stream sniping, we don't contest that at all. So
yeah, I gotcha.
But in terms of infiltration and espionage, which is allowed, like
And it should
what
be.
happens?
I mean,
what happens when you infiltrate? Let's talk about this for a second and how
Yeah.
similar it can look like to stream sniping. Okay,
Mhm.
when you're infiltrating, you know where they're going to be, what time it's going to happen, what server, when they're, the exact moment that they go onto the server. Okay, you know everything. You don't need to stream snipe. You don't need to leverage streams.
What?
We
Okay.
like. So it's like they're okay with infiltration, but they're not okay with the results of infiltration.
Well, I mean,
I see where he's going.
From what I can tell,
That makes sense.
I don't know if
from
I
what
agree
I
with
can
that.
tell, it's just not okay.
I
with
don't
you guys
agree with
doing
it, but
any-
his argument
if
makes
you're-
sense.
It does.
I mean,
They're just like just stop it, just stop.
I mean, they just want you guys to
Just don't
completely
play the
stop
game is what they're
doing
trying
it.
to say.
And you know what? I would be willing to bet that part of the reason why they're so tough on you guys is partially because of the flood of reports they're getting. And I think that problem comes from encouraging that through just, I mean, it's like, oh, it's okay that you guys are abusing that system. So it's making it worse, and they're blaming you for that. Now, yeah, I don't know. So I mean, I think that's part of the problem.
I mean, when you say that, does that not seem just so wrong? Like, oh, you're breaking the rules when people complain about you enough.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's why the vagueness concerned all of us, because at some point, like I said, we're going to attack people or events or whatever's happening on server meshing because that's where there's something to do. And then on top of that, if more of the game is put together, what does that mean? You have a server with a ton of people in one location. We go in and hit them, and we have a ton of loot and stuff we can sell, right? So that's more encouraging. So who's to say we're not going to get mass reported when we don't do on our side? And a lot of PvP orgs, we don't do infiltration. We don't plan for event disruption, right? But are we just going to end up in the wrong place at the wrong time? And then is CIG going to be like, oh, mass reports, and where's the buzzwords? The buzzwords are there. We need to ban them.
I was just thinking that same thing because of what me and Hash have done plenty of times. Oh, I'm at Repel, got a ship here now. And then we call it out, and 20 of us show up, not 20, but and we kill that person, and then they scream griefing. That's going to happen when me and Hash are in game, and I see an event happening. I'm like, Hash, an event happening, no security, get your boys, let's go. That's going to happen.
I gotta say something once again. He's arguing that espionage is a valid gameplay loop, but he's complaining that counter espionage is also a gameplay loop. This all started this all started when he used mass reporting and he himself used mass reporting and espionage and false evidence to get us removed. I don't even think they even gave evidence. I don't think they had to. But like
Who
to
has
get us
Zephyr?
removed. Yeah, to get us removed from the Anzia security team and the racing and the Discord and all that.
That was Vex,
and then
I
they
thought.
complain. Vex is their agent.
I got you.
If you go, I sent you one of the still shots of it, but they straight up thank Vex for his work. Like, and I can't believe more people aren't talking about it. But bro, they started it. Like, they literally used the same tactic to get people, the only people who knew how to fight them removed, us. And then they complained that no one knew how to fight, and so the only thing they had left was mass reporting. What?
That's crazy.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm concerned.
Ideally, they need to be more hands off.
I agree.
I don't actually disagree with
period.
that. Yeah.
Coming from like other sandbox games,
Bring up Arc.
the less activity that the devs have involved, more or less, most of the time it's better. You want to keep gameplay as organic as possible.
Yeah.
When possible, right? Beyond the like cases of like say something happening in like global chat or someone spamming Griefernet victory a few 100,000 times, right? Or like basic things like hacking, glitching, things that are game breaking, obviously. But it makes you wonder.
Yeah, we've never gotten a suspension. We've never got suspensions for spamming.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, make sure when you yell Griefernets victory over global chat, it's not all in caps, because that can be considered. That I think that's against terms of service, if I remember correctly. Using all caps to blot out the global chat. All right,
but I mean, you see so many other groups do that. It's not just Griefernet that did it. It was it ITC a long time ago used to do that shit, like ITC victory. It was like a whole meme for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Well, they're bothered by it though too. They're bothered by the whole boasting and chat thing that we do. Look, Will says that he would rather us go into other people's Discords to boast instead of just doing it in global chat. Like I don't know about you, but that seems a little bit more toxic than what we're doing currently.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're going directly to like the person's personal area and specifically targeting them with comments.
Yeah, I don't know about that take there, Will.
Like you can't go into the opponent's Discord when they block you.
Before we move on to like the mass reporting and talking about that, something that I noticed with especially this title is there seems to be a lack of anonymity for players that are on certain servers. Every time you hop into the server, the first thing you can do is open up a Mobi-Glass and your tools are all right there. There's no option to go like redacted or offline for your like character. There's no way to like mask that. And I wonder if there, like, there's other games. I'm thinking New World. I'm thinking of Tarkov that allow you to redact that information to prevent players from finding you. Do you think that would be potentially like a way to get around that?
I would absolutely love more anonymity tools. Like we would love the member list.
I like knowing who's in my server.
But it doesn't
go up on the member list if
long term they will. They're not going to do it anytime soon.
I think the reason why they don't necessarily do something like that is because they intend on us all pretty much being meshed together anyway. So that's like a temporary solution, but long term we're supposed to be all together anyway, right? So right? I mean, why would CIG spend probably like 5 years in development trying to create anonymity?
I could see that. I'm sitting here thinking about it. You're in your ship, and then bring name ships in. Then you recognize the name of a ship, and then have to scan to see who's aboard it, or I don't know. I see what.
How about hold on a sec. Yeah. Let's just for a moment. Let's talk about that. Almost every major like pirate that we know from the golden age of piracy, we know their ship names. And that's part of the reason that they were able to be tracked. Was because, you as a captain might not be visible, but if you got your ship name splattered on the back of your ship.
Absolutely. But as a pirate, I like my name to be known. I like them to know who I like being. I like it when they know I pirated them. Love it.
And you guys are forgetting that pirates would announce that they were pirates by hanging a black flag with skull and bones on it.
That's true. That's true.
It didn't always happen, but of sorts that did.
If you didn't do that, your own crew would turn on you.
The fact that they don't even have to they don't have to name their ships. Very likely they won't ever name their ships. They'll leave it generic, like every other smart person that tries to do this activity is gonna do. Yeah, they're gonna have to deal with being visible on the server, but just like what is it, Elder Relic just said, long term, it's everyone's gonna be on the same global chat space.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure if they'll do like system chat specifically.
I would assume system chat, and then if you're in a party, quote unquote, tight beam to your party members wherever they're at.
Yeah, right.
And then an org channel probably.
You know, one of the things they've talked about, and I don't know if this is actually in or not because I've never really had to test it, is that you don't get notifications when people outside of your party get on your ship. Right? That's a thing
you don't right now.
So, you know, that was built because they do want these kinds of infiltration activities and that kind of stuff. They just, community level wise, as far as the communications we've seen so far, they have no interest in that. And yeah, I totally get why people are going to get nailed with guilt by association. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's right, but in a lot of ways, I kind of mentally treat it like street racing. You know, for a long time, they would just go after the street racers. Well, where I live, they go after race attendees. So, like, everybody, if you ain't moving and you're hanging out doing that kind of stuff, like just watching, you'll still get nailed. So they they were like, hey, look, it doesn't matter if they weren't there. They were on board with the activity, so they're just going to get snagged up in this anyways, as an example, right? Yes, they are ultimately collateral damage. You know, whether or not it's guilt by association.
Yeah.
They are ultimately collateral damage.
I'm going to hit play, but I'm going to step up for a second and feed my cats too. So let me know if I miss anything important. If I need to pause, I'll be gone for like 30 seconds.
Absolutely, I will.
Tools for a mechanic that's not supposed to be there.
Well, let's take EVE Online into the mix then, because they have like a local chat. Like we're gonna have multiple systems, right? So
what
that should be
about.
yeah.
People are like, you can't view people in nullsec unless they talk. Same thing with wormhole space. You know,
having like a segmented chat like that for servers when server meshing is implemented is actually going to be crucial. Otherwise, it's just going to be a wall of text going, you know, at like mock Jesus the entire time.
100%.
And you know, people are going to figure out where you're at by listening to that chatter. If there was a way to localize it to even like systems or like, you know, parts of the star system, like, you know, one for Microtech, one for Area T, and just kind of, you know, localize it like that. That might help. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of like some ideas instead of, you know, just getting stuck on it. But we were moving on to the mass reporting. Let's talk more about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the mass reports, why is it reasonable to give first-time offenders 30 days? Let's talk about that first. Let's talk about that for a second. Okay. The Onzia incident.
So you're talking about the first-time offenders in your org that got banned this time, and it's like their first time being a part of something like this.
Without saying names, how many first-time offenders actually were struck with the 30 days? Like a rough estimate.
I would say, shoot, I didn't really do a count on that. Maybe like between 15, like probably around 15.
Anything crazy?
So 15 people. Okay.
Yeah, he was asking.
Okay, so
they were asking how many. So he just asked a question. How many were first timers that got banned? And he said he didn't have a really good number, but he said around 15.
Wait, say it again. I was reading Ninja's chat. Says that blonde guy wearing a wig. I don't know. It's a good question.
What he was saying is that so Elderic asked Elder Relic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you say that.
Elder Relic.
Yeah. So he basically asked, like, how many people were actually first timers, right? Because they're like, oh, first time people got a suspension, this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, it's like 15. He doesn't have a full number, but he's right. He thinks 15 probably.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, if it's half your people, yeah, everybody's getting nailed because half of you knew you shouldn't be doing this, and the other half need to, you know, like, it's just not fair to split half and half. Everybody's gonna get, you know, everyone's gonna get nailed for this, and everybody's gonna walk away with a lesson. You know.
Yeah.
I'm not saying what lesson it is, but that's what it's gonna be like. So that's what happened.
Gotcha.
For, you know, keeping some kind of like order here, were they all listed as Griefernet organization personnel, or was it multiple parties from like?
No, we're part of we're part of an alliance.
Alliance. Okay, that's what I was wondering. Okay.
Can I just jump on? So one of the comments said there's an assumption that Enzia was a mass report event, but I can attest there was never any such call to mass report. Now, I don't think anybody mentioned that this specifically was a mass report, though, right? I mean, we talked about mass reporting.
Yeah,
I said it was a mass report because
Oh.
they have an
Yeah, just for
unlisted video that I have access to where they're sharing screenshots of all the people on the server and then saying, okay, gonna submit this for evidence.
I see. Okay. So it was.
Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, it was. Maybe
Gotcha.
maybe that individual wasn't aware of it.
And do we have a way of? Yeah, maybe they weren't. And do we have a way of knowing like how many or roughly how many would have been a part of that mass report?
I have no idea. I know one player individually who was responsible for compiling the quote unquote evidence. I don't know. I don't know if I want to just out him right here, but
No, don't do that. Don't do it.
And what was the evidence? Like, what was it they were bringing as evidence? Was it evidence for
just our presence,
stream sniping or
just us being there? Just us being there was quote unquote evidence. They're like, oh, Griefernets here. Let's take a screenshot of the names, and then that's enough. That was enough for them to report.
But what were they reporting specifically? Like, what was the report for?
I don't know. I don't know exactly what they put in their report. But we got hit with basically everything under the sun. We got hit with stream sniping, harassment, and excessive griefing. That was what was on every single one of our bans.
Yeah, but that's not everything under the sun.
What the hell qualifies as? All right, what qualifies as excessive griefing? Because did you guys kill them multiple times?
No, I guess one time is enough. One time is excessive because we've only hit Anzia once ever, and all we did was just sit at Miner's Lament and then let their security come to us. That was all we did. And you can double check that with any security that's in the chat right now. Not a single one of us went to Grimhex where you guys were stationed for most of the fight.
Okay, so you didn't go like spawn camp basically,
nope.
Right? If you want to.
Nope, we just stayed at Miner's Lament and let them come to us.
Yeah, I'm still curious.
Is that true,
why they didn't just server hop and reform. That would have been the best solution there. The instance that they saw you, that should have been the first.
They were having some skill issue with communication. So
I mean, if you're conscripting multiple security orgs, there's your first issue. Just get a large security like group that has a good amount of like personnel to actually cover security. Like a good example, PAX would be a great one to like get in touch with if you need someone that puts up a good fight. Just saying.
Hold on.
Ninja, my chat's caught up on Blind Guy's hair, on Eldrick's hair.
Clear on this. Griefenet is a part of Neighborhood Watch.
Yes.
Is it possible for them to hire Neighborhood Watch as security? Is that something that
you can Griefenet doesn't do security. We can do you can pay us off to peace of mind.
Okay.
If you want to do your event.
It's like
that's
mob
funny
stuff. It's like protection.
But you can communicate with the other orgs that are part of Neighborhoods Watch, and they have their own internal policies about what they would do and what they wouldn't.
Okay, fair point. So the reason why I'm asking that, right, is because one thing that we've continuously emphasized, right, was why are these people going to these random orgs that call themselves security orgs that are basically just RPing as PvP security players or something?
Thank you.
I don't know if their intention is to secure from PvE.
Great point. RPing as security.
But like, why have we not seen once? I don't believe once. Any of them inquire about security from a PvP org, like an org that specifically PvPs, like exclusively.
Like us.
Right? I'll shout out one org that's done it before, and that was Paladins.
Yeah,
I know them.
They hired a AVS, and that was a nasty fight. That was a tough fight.
Okay, so would you say it was probably a lot better than what you've been seeing on these more recent ones?
Yeah, I think we haven't had a tough fight of that magnitude since then, and that was sometime last year.
So was it effective?
I mean, we still won our objective, but I would say it's a lot more effective than
what they're
than
doing
the
now.
circumstance with Anzia.
Because
So-
that, I mean, that's okay. So it shows that there's some possibility to do that, right? Because from what
Look, we're
okay,
kind of look. I don't want to get into the weeds about like how good a security team they like. I'm glad that they're hiring security in the first place. What my issue is that they're not. You're not. You're just submitting reports. These people are just submitting reports.
it's the security org.
You don't hire
They're not.
a
They're
group
not.
for
You guys
PvP
like. They're not
and then
playing the
report
game.
after the fact.
They're not playing
right?
the game.
If you're hiring a PvP org, you should just accept the fact that if you didn't do your job properly as a security org, you don't report. You just say good fight and move, the hell on at that point. That's honestly the move. Just play the damn game.
I think it's wrong. It's wrong what these communities are doing, making people lose access to the game just because we're just playing the game. We're just PvPing. Is this a say like to CIG?
No,
Is this a sandbox game
now.
or isn't it?
All right, okay. I have another question. If you were to go there, mess with the event, right? It breaks up the event, and then they reset and start the event over. Would you show up again?
Our tip, no.
Yes, you
we don't.
would.
Once
Yeah,
we
they
achieve
would. Fucking.
once we achieve objective complete, then we just that's it for the night.
Okay, if that's the case,
I'm so glad
the
you guys didn't fall for that.
You had a completed
I don't believe that for a second.
I think he's saying say something here.
The first time. Why strike it a second time?
Because it was a separate event 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just wondering if it was like the same group doing the same thing again, or if it was.
It was the
completely
same
separate.
org.
Okay,
running
gotcha.
the type of event again, but it was a different.
I don't believe
layers.
they didn't keep going back.
Like there was they had different passengers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Ninja, like where's half his
so
forehead?
it's not
the same
quite the
org.
same.
It's under the
experience.
wig.
It's one had a torp, and how did the other one die? I forget. Was it both torps? Oh, never mind then. Okay.
Both torps. Yeah, one
So
was
what did
one
they
was a little
torpedo?
bit better fired at minimum lock range. The other one was fucking 12 kilometers. Yeah, one there was they had different passengers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I gotcha. So it's not quite the same experience. It's one had a torp, and how did the other one die? I forget.
I don't know. He
Was
didn't
it both
say.
torps? Oh, never mind then. Okay.
Both torps. Yeah, one was a little bit better fired at minimum lock range. The other one was fucking 12 kilometers away. One of my
I've
guys
got
just
expat actually saying no, they didn't.
premature torped.
Same passengers is what I'm reading in chat. Are you sure about that?
I'm sure there was some overlap.
Okay.
I'm sure. I don't know the entire roster list.
He doesn't believe him.
Yeah, I mean, when I meant like
Wait, who doesn't believe what?
mission accomplished.
Frag doesn't believe what SFR is saying.
Oh, that I agree with.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and they
that statement is highly suspect for as much information they had. That's
look at his
very
face right here. His face says it all. He's like, whatever, dude.
come back together. I mean, within the same, like they continue their event.
Sora.
Because that's what I would assume, right? Now I know, obviously,
Sora.
Like if I was creating an event and somebody came and stomped on it, yeah, I'd be pissed, right? I'd be pissed about the fact that somebody destroyed my event, and I'd also be pissed that I failed to stop it from getting destroyed, right? But I would pick up the pieces and continue again. Now, if you were to continuously over and over again keep attacking that, right? That would be, I would consider excessive
Kingdom Hearts,
griefing, right? Because now it's like you're just completely preventing them from doing it
within the same session, right?
Yeah,
the same session.
And that's why I asked that, because it's like, yeah. And then let's say in the situation that you have not fight or flight. What's the I'm sorry,
Daemon Rally.
Daemon Rally, yes. Okay, so they have multiple servers that they're multiple servers they're on. Would you let's say, would you destroy one server, jump to another server, and then destroy their event on that server as well? Or would it be accomplished upon or stopping that event on that server?
That's a little different, I feel like, because on every server, there's entirely two different pools of players.
Okay. Now, would you feel that
No, you're fine, Ninja.
Classified as excessive griefing, because if you end up on a separate server and then you go after the event again, you are specifically targeting that event? multiple times, even if it's separate servers.
I mean, golly, man. I mean, they occupied 10
Hey.
servers.
Yeah, I know, I get it.
It would have
but
been hard to avoid it anyway. So if we were to
Yeah, that's a
like,
cop
I mean,
out.
just like the whole
Yeah.
concept of like killing someone once and then that's it. You can't kill them anymore.
Yeah,
And
I mean,
open-
I'm
and a
not
PvP
saying this
sandbox
should be
game.
like that, but I get like, I mean, I'm not. Yeah. So if I'm out in the in the verse and I run into the same person twice, obviously, and I'm killing them, I'm not gonna stop killing them. Hell, I already killed you once, so I'm just gonna leave you alone this time.
Yeah, nobody
but I
blinks
feel like
twice
this
when
concept's
when you find the same person 3 times in the same session and kill them all 3 times. No one blinks twice about that. But then all of a sudden, people throw a big deal
What was that?
about killing one group 1 week and then killing them again 2 weeks later. Doesn't make any
Yes,
sense.
yeah,
to me.
but I feel like I mean
I
agree
feel like that's an
different, all right? I mean, it's two separate
oversimplification and a
occurrences. Personally, I
misjudgment of
feel.
scale
Yeah.
or misrepresentation of the
I don't
scale.
know. I mean,
In the case of Daymar Rally, I don't think it would be. In my eyes, would be excessive griefing. It just if you were to swap servers over to like an entirely different player pool.
yeah.
But
Well,
that's not what happened though. Like we
yeah.
just hit one server and that was it.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, the thing is too. I mean, still, I kind of like
Wait, so
jumping
you're saying
back
they
on the
hit one
fact
server?
that it's going at some point. Hopefully
No,
soon.
swapping a
Meshing
different
is
group of
supposed to
people.
be a thing anyway, and they're no longer going to be able to say, oh, well, you jumped servers to follow these people around. No, because from my understanding, part of the mechanics that they want is that we can track down people for whatever reason and attack them. I mean, it's like an open mechanic, and I understand the whole in-game mechanics and all this stuff, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. It's there's just a whole lot of gray. It's like I think really what it really comes down to with you guys, though, personally, is really just reputation. Like you guys have been, as Griefernets, you guys have been pissing people off for a long time.
How long has Griefernets been an org?
I want to say
I think it's been a long
4
time.
2.5
years.
2.5
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's only since this January has it become a
4
big
years.
problem.
Okay. In previous years, did you guys ever experience like mass ban waves or anything like that, or is it just
No.
recently
No.
this is like a new trend?
Yeah. And last year we had the same sort of like volume of event crashes as we do this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's my argument against that.
In terms of like
The rules were set in place because of what they were doing and how long they've been doing it.
Yeah.
So the idea that it's like, oh, well, it's only started to become a problem. It's like, you guys have been doing it for a while, and the conversation had to be had.
Well, we
long
haven't
enough-
seen the rules on the CIG website yet. That was only a letter to them.
Ooh. Sneaky sneak. Let me take a peek.
Yeah,
We've
let me know
also-
if you can find something on that, because that just popped in my head.
We also
'Cause
communicate.
He mentions in the beginning of the video that it was something new in their terms of service.
Hmm.
I mean, we communicated all of this and tried to discuss this with SF multiple times before the day like before everything last year, so early last year, before anything happened. And their response was, basically top keck, get wrecked noob, salty popcorn, and then they would like send spies in here. That was their response. And so I'm sorry, I agree with a couple of his points, but all I'm hearing overall is argues that espionage is a gameplay loop, complains that counter espionage is a gameplay loop. Like,
Mm-hmm.
if it were up to us, we would have been there fighting them, and if they beat us and got through, that's one thing, but they know that they won't because they've never beat us in a whole year.
I wonder if they're going to show up to that event tomorrow.
What
I
events
promise
tomorrow?
you. I promise you. They will be showing up tomorrow.
It's a racing event
tomorrow?
tomorrow.
Yeah, and they're actually live. Last week, this attack, this was a practice run. The real attack is tomorrow.
how many per week.
And now they're pissed.
Yeah.
Hey,
I just
hey, man.
want to read this highlight. The experience was mismanaged to an extreme. They allowed a person to get on board the ship and took no steps to remove that person from the ship before leaving without some of their passengers, and allowing the ship to get torped I mean, that was misman. That was pretty bad. A top move.
So
slow.
is that the one time that the C8R was on the side of the
Yeah, that was
890? So
That was us.
that's also a game issue because that is the 890 unable to lock. That's a bug. It's not supposed to be like that for the docking ports. Same thing with like the reclaimers. Anybody
Sorry,
can access that
unable
top.
to lock.
You can't lock those doors.
Oh, the door. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Those doors, like that is an exploitable thing on that ship, and a few other ships are like that actually.
Mm-hmm.
So any board, like they unlock the whole ship. No, what I'm saying is I have done the same thing multiple times. Like popped into an 890, ran down the side of like any spaceport. It was locked, and then you can just gain access. There is no lock for those systems.
Yep, I've done
They
it.
But
need
there
to fix
wasn't any
that.
sort of like weird fishy thing you had to do. All you had
No,
to do was
no,
just
of course not.
left and
That's just how
interact with
the ship is at the moment, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's an exploit, but it is one of the problems that led up to that situation.
Yeah, it's squarely in the court of CIG's responsibility to address stuff
Right, of
like
course.
that.
Yeah.
You know.
So it is. They really just need to get their That's one of the challenges that I'm sure they face with trying to maintain, rules in like an ever-changing environment, and it's super unpolished. Not everything's gold standard. I know that, and I'm not saying it is Griefernets' fault by any means. It's just that is a CIG issue. They need to fix their shit.
And that's the thing too. Like, it's CIG's issue. Like the amount of damage a torpedo does, it's CIG's issue. The amount of devastation that an A2 can incur, that's a CIG issue. Why is that a player problem? In fact, let me go forward a bit.
Is it exploiting a bug though if someone knows that the door is unlocked and uses that opportunity to gain access to a ship?
No, it's not.
No,
That's
no,
what I'm
I wouldn't
wondering.
treat it as a bug.
That's a stretch in my eyes, man.
Yeah.
I gotta say, honestly,
I don't know.
I definitely do agree that CIG's issue, like a lot of this is because it's not, I mean, I'm sorry, but it's not our fault that it's been 12 years and none of these systems are in place to prevent any of this. And that we're still working on things like a box sitting in the middle of wherever on Daymar for the next 30 years for persistence sake. Right? I mean, not to be super critical, but like, where are we at here? Like, you guys have had ample amount of time to set up some of these damn systems. Where are they at? Like, what's going on? Right?
Yeah,
Because a lot of us are waiting to play the
Oh.
damn game.
let me say this for a second, okay? Look at where Xylo says in his response to Sill's post. They have issues where they weigh how many, like, if you bring too many A2s, it could potentially be bannable. How are we supposed to make a sound judgment when you don't like specify anything? Like, what do you mean how many A2s does it take for something to be quote unquote disruptive to the point that you
That's
issue out
retarded.
suspensions? It's just crazy to me, man.
If I want to bring 20 A2s, I'm allowed to bring 20 fucking A2s.
What
So
is the hold on? I can't. Problem is I can't read the text.
Yeah, I can't read that either. Apparently ways things like using A2s and creating certain YouTube. I can't read any of this, but they said that that it could be considered bringing too many A2s can be considered an offense. I can't read any of this hardly.
What's the minute time on that one? Was that 53?
Yeah, 52 something, 52:30 maybe.
Yeah, okay, hold on, let me. Yeah, okay, so highlighted sections. First one is we still believe in and encourage PvP solution to in-game conflict. However, next block says we're not eager to police PvP. That third one says we prefer players to engage in organic PvP without intervention. The next one says making disruption their primary purpose for playing. So that whole line says there's a line where we will issue warnings, particularly that groups that take it to the extreme, making disruption the primary purpose for playing. Next red box says regular PvP and piracy learning activities are not accepted but encouraged within the parameters of are not only accepted but encouraged within the parameters of fair play. This has been seen more frequently lately, and with pad ramming and A2 flybys, commonly followed by videos mocking those impacted, all with very little gameplay repercussions. It's important
They
to
built
understand
the A2 with that much damage, though. And if I have an org and we have 10 people with an A2 and we want to fly over and unload everything, guess what? We should be allowed to do that without any fear of being in trouble.
It's also important to understand that our recent warnings were directed at a specific group that what we deemed as more radically impacting the intended alpha experience. Lastly, I want to clarify that our current stance is also not permanent. Espionage, piracy, and sabotage have their place in our universe, and we anticipate a more balanced and refined system to accommodate them as game progresses. So it is just intentionally like essentially it's like what he said right at the beginning, right? Griefernet exists to do one thing: disrupt community events.
And don't think I'm on board. Don't think I'm on board with Griefernnet. But some of the things CIG is telling them, it blows my mind. Like that, like if I have 4 Idrises in my org, and we show up with all 4 of them somewhere, and we hold an area with 4 Idrises, if we hold repel and we only run repel, that's not griefing.
But that's not how they're. That's not what they're construing. And I also think that so like this idea that there's a number of A2s is not what CIG is saying. It's about the conduct related around it, right?
Use the A2 to bomb, right?
No. Honestly, I don't think their major complaint has specifically to do with A2's bombing. I think it has to do with really more of what comes afterwards. It's the fact that they are mocking those impacted with very little gameplay repercussions, right? There's no recourse for a lot of people, none, right? And so in the sense of like if I was CIJ for a moment, and I'm not, right? But if I were a person in that kind of position, when I look at Griefernet, I'm like, what are they adding gameplay content wise to the people they're affecting? Right? What are they giving to those players? Right? I get piracy, right? Piracy is an experience. It's in a lot of ways. It's also like a lot of times when I see good piracy, right? And good piracy is really hard. It's an unfair situation because it's hard for pirates to get to be good pirates with a lot of people, right? And I get that, right? But good piracy is something that people are going to walk away with a salty experience, but they're going to walk away with a lesson that can be actuated on that it's like, could they have maybe worked out a different arrangement? No.
Do you think Griefernet would do all this if CIG didn't step in and nobody complained? Everybody was like, "Fuck, they ruined it. We'll just schedule for a different day." If CIG didn't, like, if the people didn't go cry to daddy every time.
But it's not
because do you think Griefernet would keep doing it if they didn't think it upset people that much?
Well, okay. Honestly,
they do it because it pisses people off. That's where they get their high from.
But yeah, but like
they love this right now. What we're watching, they love this attention.
Well, and not only that, but they just love, like what is it? There's that saying, people just want to see the world burn, right?
If nobody let this bother them this much, I mean, yeah, I get pissed that they disrupted your event. If no one let them bother this much, they'd move on to a different game.
Bro, this proves everything we have like been through and like have warned like the community about. This just might end up being one of the single greatest advertising and recruitment campaigns for us. This is also gonna fix all this bullshit that these people are trying to start about our reputation. How can you say anything about us if we were right?
I mean, that's not necessarily how I would put this kind of stuff. I will say for
you're right, Ninja.
I need to get your stream up so I can see your chat. Damn it. I keep forgetting that. I keep reminding myself, but then we get back onto content. So I kind of look at it this way, right? One, Griefernet is a highly cohesive, singular, dedicated purpose org, right?
Yes.
So you have that, and you'll have an org like that in every single PvP MMO. Just so you know.
Absolutely. And if we use EVE Online as an example, that's every major guild, every major corporation has a branch that does that, right? That's their jive. And as a matter of fact, the economy of EVE Online is in a lot of ways reliant on that kind of activity. There's a reason that Hulkageddon as an event exists, and that people with billions of ISK worth of product sit on that product until Hulkageddon happens, because mineral values suddenly skyrocket because the inflow dumps, right? Suddenly the amount of minerals that are coming in drops because there's miner numbers are down. So it's not that I don't think that there's not a value to it, but the fact that their sole goal is to disrupt, community events. It's like, okay, what is meaningfully added to the content experience to everybody else? And I think that I believe that's one of the points they even had in there. It was like, how is this contributing to a positive, like not even a positive experience, right? Piracy isn't always a positive experience.
An experience without you.
What is a meaningful experience for the rest of the people involved? And really, I think that that's probably the biggest takeaways. There isn't, right? They're actively, it's like, obviously they've gone and disrupted other events, and they haven't been banned or suspended over those things, right? But it might be just that CIG, and here's a thought, right? I wonder if the whole reason that CIG ended up doing it is not because of just the one event. It might be that CIG looked at the series of events that have happened, right? Because they talk about all the other operations that they did, and said, okay, this is a trend. This will continue to be a trend. This will continue to be a very serious problem. It will damage community events that people are trying to put together, especially if they're constantly targeting them, right? That's hugely damaging to just the overall community, right? You can kill games doing that kind of stuff, especially when they're in the state they're in right now. So in my mind, I don't think this was a one-off. I think that as much as they think it is, that they probably have a lot of complaints from all of the events that they've hit, and that CIG just decided that this is the one that they were going to finally stamp on.
Like, I don't know. I mean,
and they're constantly saying, "Oh, we encourage PvP solutions to an in-game conflict. We support organic PvP. We don't want to police PvP." But when Griefernets shows up to crash to PvP these events, suddenly it's a problem. Like, look, here's my conversation with Xylo. Okay, he repeats everything that he's saying in that post to the point until it's like, listen, if it was me, just reach out to these communities and pretty much just ask permission. Ask permission before you do that. That way there's not a problem. That's not an open world PvP sandbox.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it looks like one of the mods banned or locked out Shankers, who was gifting us subs. So can we reverse that? Why would that be a thing? So can we please reverse that? Shankers has been nothing but supportive. Like, he should not be rejected from the chat. Yeah, like, what's that about?
What they're talking about moderation issues with CIG.
I know, right? We don't, and honestly, with our chat, like, hey, we take criticism here. I don't even know why that's happening. Like, yeah, free Shankers. Like, moderation is definitely not my thing, except for copy pastas, because I hate those damn things.
Okay, so it shows that he isn't banned. I don't know what's going on.
Well, he's saying that it just says that he's disconnected from chat and he can't reply at all. So, yeah.
Elder Musk over here, freedom of speech.
Report back.
All right. Well, all right. If that's not, maybe it's.
I would just refresh, because I did check the ban list. He's not on there. There's no reason it should have happened.
Okay. Weird.
All right.
Anyways, back
sorry
on
to
subject.
interrupt.
Sorry. Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good. I forgot what I was going to say. I had something.
Don't tread on me. Sorry. Okay. I'm done.
No, I was talking about how Xylo wants us to reach out to people and like ask permission. Like, that's not an open world PvP sandbox. Why do I need to go out and ask somebody if I want to PvP their event or not?
No, not at all. And honestly, all of their, like, okay, anytime I get an ad, it will show like cargo runners and then war, right? And people fighting
like,
for
that's an
cargo.
expectation.
Like, yeah, it's like you go into that game expecting a fight. And then the other argument I had too.
Cinematics of pirates coming up to fuck up an 890, like.
Yeah. And if they want you to literally like have a reason other than just disrupting an event, make there a working economy where you can actually, like, you actually need to make money right? I mean, because right now the economy don't work. So, like, how can you be like, oh,
That's
you need to
funny.
be pirating for what? For what? Like, what do I need money for?
I'll bite back on that a little bit. It's like, why do we need a digital MacGuffin to do anything in the game? Like, couldn't like, isn't just have just it doesn't we do it for fun? Is that not enough?
Yeah, I
No, it's
mean,
not for everybody. There's different mindsets. There's different people that want to earn money. You know, Bob's a good example where they want to.
I know, but in terms of like violating
Yeah, I know
the
what you mean.
TOS, though, is what I'm saying.
Right.
know?
So here was something that I was kind of curious about. Let me see if I can figure out my thoughts here. Just go ahead and say what you're saying, though. Forgot what I was going to say.
Okay.
Yep.
Shoot.
can I just jump on it? Just so you guys know, anybody who's new here, Griefers Pub isn't a subsidiary of Griefernet or anything. We're actually a separate entity. All right, just to throw it out there.
There's
So,
a name tag for you that says, hello, my name is Fur. Just so we can keep that going, because right now we've got Chris Roberts, we've got Jake Acapella.
We need like
you know,
but we need like a
everyone's
disclaimer when somebody comes into the chat or whatever that says.
You guys
this
kind of
is
shot
not-
yourself in the foot by naming it Griefers Pub, guys.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah,
Where's my royalty
because we've had
check?
we've had people come in and be like, "Is this part of Griefernets?" And we're like, "No, we're not at all. It's just the joke is you're a PvPer, you're considered a griefer amongst many." And it's funny
That's
too because
true.
by the way, what's his name? Z was posting this on Reddit, and they just constantly removed his post and downvoted the shit out of it. So it just like Reddit, like Griefers Pub, no, get it out of here.
That
All right,
isn't
anyway.
just like from those posts. I mean, I feel like that's most PvP related topics
It
that
is, yeah.
get posted that aren't like, negative.
They don't like
by,
it, yeah.
Yep, exactly.
They don't like it.
Yeah.
There's the
So
same thing
look,
with one of the Facebook. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So here's a common here's a common through line through CIG when talking about moderation. It's very much, to me, it seems like it's very much about short-term like marketing optics. They didn't like the fact they were using the 890 jump as like a grassroots marketing thing. They didn't like the fact that it didn't go exactly the way they wanted it to go. You know, anything like it says right here is Xylo. It's like you're being targeted because the events that you're hitting are being broadcasted, just tend to be broadcasted. And let me comment on that a little bit. I don't think CIG understands how prevalent streamers are in modern gaming right now. It's crazy. Look, we're a large group.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm scheduling events for my community, I'm targeting things that have either like an equitable or slightly more like predicted turnout on the other end, because I'm not going to drop 30 dudes on like 5 goobers in their mold just having like a mining Monday. It's a waste of our time, you know.
Mining Monday, is that a thing?
Yes.
Yeah, it is.
But no,
It
we're
is
not
actually a
doing
thing.
that. We're going after these as large events as we can, and those large events, for whatever reason, for spectacle, for just people, there's more people that are talking
Mining
about it, and
Monday.
it spreads throughout the communities, and streamers like, oh, I want to participate. This is gonna be fun and boost my viewership maybe, and it's gonna be an entertaining piece of content for me to stream. And so like disproportionately, these large events just tend to have streamers. That's just the reality of the situation. And it's like,
So I
it's
do
not
have a
fair to
question,
us
though,
that
here
any
that
PvP that
someone's-
we want to do at the appropriate scale that makes sense for our community is being targeted because someone turned on a camera.
What about charity events? I know that you guys struck what is it called? Save the Animals. Do you guys not
Yeah, well,
like
there you go.
pets, or like what is exactly up
We're
with
more
Griefernets on that?
The maniacal.
We're a bit more like cat people. We like cats a little bit more than dogs.
Okay, but why strike
Know
out
how
charity event?
ironic that is. You guys have a
feels
bunch
kind of
of
strange.
dog-
I know. I've
Yeah.
seen
No,
like
we changed.
Disc, like
Our
post his
motif is
dog.
orcs now, guys.
Oh yeah, I saw that actually. Yeah, I was like, "What the hell's
What's that?
going on over there?" They don't.
Yeah, I
you
saw
guys
that.
don't use PFP borders. You just match up each other's PFPs with the same general like theme.
Like theme, yeah. Yeah. Look, I know people are gonna get a little when they hear about us hitting a charity event.
What was the point?
This
though?
is a
Like,
video
I'm
game.
curious.
This isn't a platform for a charity. I don't really feel that bad about it.
And that's why they're getting burned.
Okay. But
yeah.
like, what was the benefit for? Did you guys have any like purpose behind that, or was it just?
It was just a
because
large event. It
shits
was
and giggles?
content. It was a large event, and it made sense, and it lined up with our schedule. And
I mean, to be honest, I think Griefernet is probably having more fun than anybody else in this freaking game right now. Because like honestly, most of us are all bored to death.
People play
we
this
are
game?
I
having
think that's
the
a
most fun out of everybody,
mischaracterization.
bro. And I
I
dare
think Race would be having a hell of a lot more fun if they didn't have to worry about getting torpedoed.
The game isn't fun right now.
No.
And I wish CIG
if you guys want to,
that.
yeah, if you guys want to encourage CIG, I'm talking to you. If you want to encourage people to be doing more things, give us things to do and make it work, please.
I agree.
I'm sorry. I'm super sorry.
Actually, that is kind of a that makes sense. An interesting take. Do you?
It's
guys
about
do what you do
personal
because
perspective.
there isn't a whole lot going on.
I'm not
in
saying
the
people
right
aren't
now.
having like that. They're people.
We're just
They are
lovers of
not
emergent
in a
content.
position.
Can you
We're
pause
lovers
if
of
you're
it.
gonna talk? If we're gonna talk, can we pause it?
I know. I'm trying to keep it going. Isn't that we have a whole nother hour? We've been doing it for 2. We've gotten 1 hour done in 2. But no, go ahead. What were you saying?
I'm just like, I think it's really, I think it's, people are like, oh, hey, nobody's having fun, so go disrupt these events where people are trying to have fun. Well, that's not really like, okay, fine, you might not be having fun, and I can understand that, right? Especially people that like piracy. It's kind of sucks right now. The ecosystem is not in a way that's really conducive to that gameplay, and I totally respect that as being an issue, and I agree with it as being an issue right now. But there are definitely people that come into this game and they're having a lot of fun. So, I think it's a mischaracterization for people to be like, well, CIG needs to be making fun for everybody because nobody's having fun. It's like, that's not the case.
Fair enough.
We don't like to set up play dates. It kills the fun for us. We don't.
The whole thing with like setting up play dates feels inorganic. I don't like that. But I also like personal take joining on multiple servers to get onto the same server also feels kind of inorganic. That's a personal take. I like organic PvP when it happens and if it happens. But with starts, it's a little tough to even find action sometimes because nobody knows where anybody's at. Yeah. There's not enough players on like server. We're capped still at what, 100 like players per server?
Yep.
So it's hard to get that activity in the first place.
Yeah, like
and there's
people
like
are
no
mad
tools
about.
for us to find. There's no like you said, no tools for us to find players. Like we're just sitting there with just kind of waiting for stuff to appear, like for someone to appear for us to PvP.
Yeah, like the fact that like for example, people get mad about like us attacking events, right? Because there's nowhere. We are not going to run into anybody anywhere else. Like we have nowhere to go. Right. We had I'm sorry, what's his name now? Virgil came on as a call-in. He mentioned about having one whole system specifically with nothing other than just like the PvP orgs can be in there. It's dangerous. Do you realize how busy we would be just fighting each other and trying to get like you want to keep us busy. We would much rather fight more challenge. I mean, I'm not talking for Griefernets because the consensus is you guys are a bunch of assholes.
Okay, now hold on a second. Hold on a second, guys. Look,
now, hang on, guys. Hang on, guys.
That are hittable. Okay, the PvP orcs don't really do the sorts of events that we can like show up uninvited and hit y'all all at one time. You know what I mean? So that's kind of why it's skewed that way as to why we're hitting.
I also disagree. I don't want to be stuck in a server with just PvPers, and that's all we're doing is just PvP, because I want the whole pirate aspect to stop the traders sometimes to take their cargo. That's why I hung out at Repel. That's why I'm not in Arena Commander. That's what Arena Commander is, but on a small scale.
Well, yeah, and you know what? This is where it becomes the question of where does PvP turn into griefing? Where does griefing, like where is that actual line?
Me hunting Repel is not griefing.
Well,
by
but I'm
any
not
means.
saying it is.
I know.
Right?
I know. I never said you were. I'm just saying it's not.
I think like a lot of times griefing just comes down to the impacts it has on the people that are not interested in enduring that kind of gameplay, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like how wide is the impact of that, right? One person doing a run from Repel, even a small crew doing from Repel, that's different. 50 people trying to make an event happen, that's a whole different scale, right? And the level and intent, right? Piracy, in my mind, is not griefing. Pad ramming people is griefing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that's kind of why I'm like, yeah, piracy needs to be a thing. Yeah, piracy and people that like to do piracy like to prey on people that are less capable of them. Plain and simple, right? No matter how we slice the cake and whatever. Yes, PvP can come along with that. But if people just wanted PvP, like you said, you just go to Arena Commander. That's all they'd ever do. But they don't. That's not what they want. They do, like Griefernet, they want to prey on people that are less capable. Disruption, however that might be disruptive.
Yeah, I want to do it in the game
their action.
where I can make some money and do some stuff. Yeah.
It's really just the hacker mentality.
The hacker mentality.
Like you were talking about earlier. Yeah, just watch the world burn. They don't really care.
Yeah. And that's
I'm not saying they probably don't do a lot of that too.
that's where in my mind the line comes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, we can keep going.
Non-PvP orgs more often than not, because those are the types of orgs that do the events that are hittable.
Before we
and the other thing is,
we're going to take a short break, guys, because we do have an ad that we should run really quick. We're at the top of the hour. I just don't want people missing any of the discussions. So let's go to standby really quick. And we'll
do you want to push an ad?
To cut you off there. Yeah, let's do that.
I don't run ads.
We're running someone else's ads.
No, because there's no ads on ours.
Welcome back, guys. We are going to shift back over to that media panel. If we could, Elder, there was something that we were going to discuss just before we kind of shuffle over to the next topic here. So you were talking about event setup times, right, Sfer? Can we cover that really quick?
Another thing that I found to be a theme with our communications with CIG is that one of the reasons that they are very sensitive about these large events being hit is because they're saying to us, oh, these events take a quote unquote long time to organize. And so therefore that those events being able to go off without a hitch is a higher priority than our entitlement to participating in the open world PvP sandbox element of the game. And I just want to ask this to CIG. CIG, do you not think that there's any level of preparation or readiness or any level of organization that goes on with the criminal element of the game? You think we just like hop on and just like, oh, look, let's do this, guys, with no plan? And like, let me also say this, like, I have a screenshot. We don't really need to show it, but it's in the beginning of the PowerPoint. But the experience guys, they emailed CIG and was just saying like, oh, it took us 8 months to organize this event. 8 months. Time. Oh, really?
I wonder if that's because of like IRL circumstances. Maybe not everybody on their team was available. Makes you wonder.
It didn't take every second 8 months of those 8 months, guys. Let's be real, okay?
I mean, it shouldn't.
Yeah,
I agree.
Probably what happened was they had the idea 8 months ago, and then in total they probably spent maybe like being generous
8 months lost to a single torp. Oof.
Being very generous. Okay. Let me put this in perspective too. Okay. Let me back. CIG. There is also a skill differential in terms of one group can spend their time more effectively than another group. There is such a concept as one group being organized than another. As to why you guys are valuing how long it takes an event when you're weighing when to put out suspensions is beyond me. Here's an example. Our ban waves just went out like 2 days ago, 30 minutes before when our next operation was supposed to go off. Okay, we had already prepped for the op. Like we had all our ships claimed, ready to go at our muster point. We had all our gear stocked in fucking SU crates that was even more of a pain thanks to y'all's new inventory system with 324. Okay. And we had to redo all that. We had to redo all that on alts. And we still, and even after bugs and like 30,009 errors, we had so many of those. Our Cutlass Red or our respawn point. And I got crashed the desktop. I had to claim the ship that already had the SCU on there after restocking with gear that we lost already. Like that was, and then it was gone again. So we had nothing, and we still managed to hit our target. and finish our objective on time.
Looking at a comment here, Experience had recorded voice. Hang on, sorry, voiceovers and time music for each place they would visit and planet. So it looks like they were trying to put some kind of production value behind it, whether it be like a forced script or whatever it might have been. I don't know. But maybe that's what was taking all the time. Again, there's probably a lot more going on behind the scenes than we actually know. Like, I'm thinking, event preparation, one that comes to mind was when we were doing like the 5v5 tournaments and how much work that kind of took. It took a few weeks though, because we were pretty coordinated. So to some extent, it kind of feels like it's bad management and lack of, resources. I don't know what that would be.
But we're also you're setting the precedent that if something takes like enough time to prep, it's just, well, you're immune to the PvP element of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly shouldn't be like that.
That shouldn't be the case. That shouldn't be the case at all. It should be like one MMO that comes to mind where PvP is always going to be around, aside from like the starter like
Mortal
area, would be like Mortal Online 2.
Knew it.
Where everything is like open world, and if you're like a trader, you could get killed any second. So I personally like environments like that where anything can go wrong. EVE Online is a really good example as well. I'd rather have organic settings like that as opposed to. I don't mind the systems that we have where it's in spaceports and on planets, but everywhere else should be fair game. As soon as you're out of that hangar, it's like good luck. That's how it should be.
Mm-hmm.
So expat, no, not immune at all, but is what they are doing is organic. I mean, you can't. I'm sorry, I don't really. You can't have that take because infiltration again. I mean, what infiltration has to be organic? That doesn't really make sense to me. Like, I don't see something wrong about planning to. I understand why people will be upset by it. Again, it's not my style of gameplay specifically, but I certainly.
I think the issue is the lack of infiltration and espionage gameplay mechanics to allow systems to exist in game.
What other reason is there?
We're kind of like going around into that again, but that's. You can't stop.
What other reason is there to do any infiltration to begin with other than this? I mean, there's no resources. There's nothing. Reputation doesn't mean anything. There's no economy. Like, the game is seriously lacking.
Yeah, expat, what you're saying is that people aren't allowed to like basically plan. Like, PvPers aren't allowed to plan something. It has to be the only way in your eyes that would have been an allowed situation is if we just happened upon the 890 by chance and then just quickly try to board it.
Can I ask you this? Spur. So first of all, is it S fur or fur?
It's S capital fur to you.
Okay, S fur. So let me ask you this. Okay, so if there is actual economy and supply chains that are necessary now, let's say Griefernets has a base or a need for keeping up with, I don't know, whatever, money or supplies for whatever reason. And, I don't know, PAX is building their base and they need supplies for it. Now, would you start shifting some of your planning around infiltrating to find out where the supply chain is and ruining that?
I would do that.
Or, infiltrating that and getting those or ruining the supply chain. Like, would you shift towards doing those things also, or are you
or base rating could be a thing too?
That's the whole reason I helped found Neighborhood Watch.
Oh, okay. So
that's the whole reason.
So
yeah,
I'm sorry.
What, Stan?
Hold on. Let me just finish this one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
So,
what, Stan? What you laughing at?
Lies, I assume.
No, you can almost see it. You can almost you could almost see how we can almost all really get along, even with this group. There's a compatibility there that's just not fully developed. You know what I mean? It's just not material, and we tried, but there was a time when we got along with these folks, and then they changed.
Yeah.
The whole reason I found Neighborhoods Watch is to I'm hoping one day that we live in an environment where we can kind of cut out our own slice of sovereignty and then all the logistics and management that go along with that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So that, I mean, everybody who's watching, CIG, I'm sure you're in there somewhere. Think about that. So part of the problem that you're having here is not just that they're the big bad guys, right? And it's part of the reason is because what else is there to do? I mean, because that would add, I'm waiting for that. I want to strategize around being able to disrupt supply chains, steal people's supply and add it to ours and build our base using their stuff. I want to do all that. You know what I mean? So that's part of the problem is that this is literally like the only content that they may have.
There's no end game content is the issue.
It's part of the problem. I mean,
there's nothing to really like hone in on for like focus. I think settlements would be a big part of it, but it's not going to be enough. It's still relying on just like items and like economy alone.
Yeah, so I feel like CIG is like mad and everyone's blaming you guys, but I feel like CIG is mostly to blame, honestly. I hate to say it, but I feel like this is on you guys more than anything.
I think if I were to predict a response from them, it would be something they've already told us. It's like, listen, they're like, listen, we're only this hard on you because we don't have the systems in place to mitigate what you're doing in a way that we like, right? Yeah. That would be what I would predict their retort would be to all of this. But my response to that would be like, well, you got to give us something to work with then. Okay, it's not tenable to just be like, hey, Griefernet, just stop everything you're doing. Okay, you guys like look, this is one of Dracadius's replies to me when I'm trying to ask, when I'm trying to like get clarification on like, listen, like what's a compromise? Give us something to work with. He's like, listen, an event, the size of an event, we don't weigh that. If it's sponsored or approved, we don't weigh that. That has nothing to do with whether or not an event disruption has occurred. Then what is like what makes it when does it become PvPing an event, disrupting an event? Is it when we don't ask for permission? Is it when it's unconsensual? Tell us that. Is that what it is? Do we need to ask permission first every single time? Tell us that.
Nah, you shouldn't have to ask permission.
I think honestly the best solution is for CIG to make progress. And I mean, like I get everything you're saying, but like make some progress, guys.
But like I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
But in the interim, where they're not happy with the systems that they have implemented, they need to tell us this stuff so we aren't risking our accounts every time we do emergent PvP.
Yeah, and honestly, I feel that we and other PvP communities, especially when rushing happens, has a legitimate reason to be concerned because Griefernets is not going to be the only org they're going to mass report when you ruin something. So if I happen to ruin something, I'm sure that they're going to be like, oh, let's report these guys, right? Let's like this guy.
I'm sure we've been reported.
Put together. Even though I'm just
we were.
I'm like at Repel.
I think it's we have a legitimate reason to be concerned in general. Like when you have this vagueness,
makes sense. Yeah.
Yep. It's. I mean, come on.
I can think of some circumstances when I got a DM about when I was on the same server as like a streamer, and got a DM from a buddy saying, "Hey, he's complaining to me about you being on there. And it's because I had one of his friends on the list. We're not going to say names, obviously, but." He was like, no, it's organic. He joined on me. You had a bounty. He went after your bounty. He wiped your guys, and that's the end of it.
I remember that.
That's how it should be. I see people talking about the Erbazita like moment too, and that's something that kind of comes to mind too. But we can cover that if you want to.
We can cover that. I have no issues covering that.
Yeah, let's go back to that one then. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Because I want to avoid like situations like this. This is a good example. Yes, it was Griefernet, but what if it was just like a random org that was hunting down like random players, and then you just so happen to have a streamer in like the turret or like in one of the other parts of the party. You kill them, and then all of a sudden they say, hey, these guys killed me. I'm a little pissed off. And, you know, in a moment of like heated emotion, tells all of his guys, hey, mass report them, or just like set like some sort of report and then write this as the following. What's to prevent that from happening to anybody else? That's more my concern.
Yeah.
I've been stream sniped and I
Oh
don't
yeah,
give a shit.
let's get into the weeds about Herbazedia.
Well,
Okay,
yeah,
so I
but
have a
that's
video.
you,
We have a
that's not
video
the standard.
showcasing all the occurrences that we've. So the issue is that
Yeah.
we've encountered or killed Herbazeta. Well, we've killed him 4 times in the period of 30 days. Okay.
Okay.
It's not a
We have a
lot.
video showcasing all of the occurrences. You guys can go watch that video on Gank Hub. That's the name of the channel. I'm sorry, Comanche. Anybody who watches it, the audio mixing is awful. Okay.
It happens. It's okay.
I love you, dude, but it's awful. Anyway.
Wait. What did he say?
So
Kalanchi?
Yeah. Why?
Kalanchi's in charge of the Senate. That would explain a whole lot.
So he's stream sniping.
I need. Yeah. Can we go like back 5 seconds
Hey,
or so?
these guys killed me. I'm a little pissed off. And, you know, in a moment of like heated emotion, tells all of his guys, hey, mass report them, or just like set like some sort of report and then write this as the following. What's to prevent that from happening to anybody else? That's more my concern.
Yeah. Oh yeah, let's get into the weeds about Herbazedia. Okay, so I have a video. We have a video showcasing all the occurrences that we've. So the issue is that we've encountered or killed Herbazeta. Well, we've killed him 4 times in the period of 30 days. Okay.
Okay.
We have a video showcasing all of the occurrences. You guys can go watch that video on Gank Hub. That's the name of the channel. I'm sorry, Comanche. Anybody who watches it, the audio
thank you.
is just
I'm
the audio
getting
mixing is
paranoid in my
awful.
hearing. Thank you.
Okay.
It happens. It's okay.
I love you, dude, but it's awful. Anyway, so 6 players. So at the on the 4th encounter, it was a bounty hunting encounter.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't even bounty hunting Herbazeta. It was his friends, turns out. So he wasn't even on the bounty board. They were doing Vaughn missions around Hurston.
Okay,
and so they had like a big group of bounties. Like, hey guys, there's a big group of bounties. Let's go fuck them up. And so that's what we did. So
in-game mechanics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So bounty, and we have a video. I mean, in the Roy's guide video that Roy made.
Yeah, I've seen it. Mm-hmm.
It
shows. Yeah, it's a good video.
It shows the segment of us in that encounter. Anyway, 6 players got suspended between 3 to 7 days, and 2 of them had never killed Herbazeta before, and it was for stream sniping and harassment. I list the dates on the occurrences that we've done it. 2 of them were just for Jumptown, like July 3rd and 4th, Jumptown. One was Hurston, one was Daymar.
Okay. Can I just okay, so they do define what harassment as if you're jumping from server to server following somebody, right? That's how they define it. Now, I'm gonna ask you.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that's how I think that's defined as like excessive griefing or harassment is some of that stuff.
When you go out of your way to try and find a server with a person on it.
Yeah, like if let's say you're on this guy's server and he sees you're there and he jumps to a different server and then you leave and you follow him to the next server. Right, like, and you continue to do that. So my question for you is, did you guys specifically jump onto the server knowing he's there?
To my knowledge, no. It's just we already pre-existed on that server, and then someone either saw like a group of bounties that he was a part of, or saw his bounty.
Okay.
So
and
on the 3rd and 4th, there wasn't even bounties involved. It was just he was in the general area of Jumptown.
And I just want to highlight for people that if he does have somebody in his group that is friends with somebody in Sfur's group or Sfur, right? His group, the server, the way it prioritizes which server it puts you in, it will prioritize according to whether you have a friend online, and you will end up a majority of the time on one of those servers with your friends, right? So I mean that is a feasible thing.
The issue with that is that this is during like a low point in like population. I mean, we're still kind of at that point, even with 3.24.
Yeah, we are. It's still really.
So if I like hop on a server, I find myself joining a lot of the same servers. As a good example would be like Lord Kamak. Yeah. He is pirating most of the time. He's pretty active in the PU. I'll end up on the same server and be like, well, here I am again. Is that intentional? No. Is that just how CIG's like current system works sometimes? Unfortunately, yes. And that does happen.
Yeah, and the guy plays
the guy
a
with the
lot.
bounty.
He's played 33% of all hours in 1 month.
The guy with the bounty, did you guys recognize that name from when you had like previous bouts in like say Jumptown or any of the dates on that list? I'm just curious.
I don't know if one of my guys recognized it or not. But
You weren't involved
really
in this one specifically,
they're different
or
days, you guys. They're different days.
okay.
That number didn't make
all.
any sense because I have more hours than that.
Yeah. So we got suspended for that, for stream sniping, harassment. It's, it is what it is. CIG, I wish you guys kept this stuff in mind when you're issuing suspensions. Just because they're a streamer doesn't mean we're leveraging streams.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, to be fair too, I have had times when I fought somebody. King Chaos, actually, he's always streaming, and we jump on a server, and sometimes we end up on a server, and King Chaos, I'm gonna say is a good sport about it. Don't get me wrong, but he does sometimes feel like, because if we go to the event he's at, we're gonna attack him because we're not in the same Discord together.
If you're not in the same Discord, if you're not in the voice channel, our policy is that you're fair game. Like that's
and he will feel like he's like maybe we jumped on a server with him or something, but that's not what's happening. But I will jump into, like, if somebody says, "Oh, this person's streaming," after the kill, I will jump into their stream and be like GF and stuff like that, or speak with them, right? But maybe that's a bad idea because now it would be viewed like, oh, he was stream sniping the entire time, I
recently had that happen where we ran into someone that same night in the PTU. I hopped into his like Twitch stream and said, "Hey, good fight. Was that you? I think you were in the cutty earlier. Nice running into you." And then instantly I was just banned. Yeah. No questions, nothing like about that. I said, good fight. And it wasn't even like sarcastic. It was just trying to be like, I think it was like 5-star or something like that. I think
5-star. I think you said it was. Yeah, that guy. Oh yeah. Oh, he's one of the banned people. The first time I ran into him, he was absolutely using the invisibility bug and just kept like attacking people invisible and pretending like he didn't know.
From like this becoming a conversation.
All right,
I'm sorry, but like the situation is still the same. Like
it's just ironic.
Maybe it brought up like the pretense that maybe he thought it was like stream sniping because I recognized the name, I saw it, we killed him, he pressed charges, and it was just like, you know what? Let me talk to him a little bit later and just be like, hey, good fight, and then that was the outcome, unfortunately.
You can always finish it another time.
And like, look, I have this up right here with another communications with Will. So he had, at this point he had joined the Cogum Discord, and this was in a private channel, like a council channel with just a few players, and then Will and Dracadius and Xylo had access to it. Okay. And he came on one day and he reprimanded me and Fisk, saying that, like, asking, "Hey, why am I getting reports that you guys are stream sniping on St. Patrick's Day?" I had no idea what he was talking about. I tried to rationalize it. I was like,
"What? Okay, so do you have any idea like what he might have been referring to? Or you like seriously were like completely?"
I had no idea. We weren't even playing on St. Patrick's Day. Like, I have no
random reports.
I have no idea. I tried to rationalize it. I was like, well, what could it be? Like, I told him, and I highlighted. I was like, we're a moderately sized org with allies. We join on each other's server depending on what is called out. And like, maybe one of my boys that was playing that day called out like, "Hey, there's someone to fuck up. Anyone would come help." And they killed the guy, and it just happened to be a streamer. Maybe that's what Will is seeing. I have no idea. I don't know if that was the case. I was just throwing something into the wind to see if that's what it could be. And then Will, to my surprise, he was taken aback by the statement, by the concept of friends joining on friends to do something in the game. And he's like, "That's explicit harassment of a player or a group of players." What?
So this is something that I've been noticing. This isn't just from here, but just watching some previous videos and looking at different sources for this kind of stuff about like reports and just DM conversations. It feels like a lot of the language is sometimes all over the place as far as the support team goes. I don't know if that's always the case, but it feels like there's a lot of inconsistencies
I would agree with that.
for like expectations, you know? And that's
That's
gotta be
crazy.
tough
Join on
because
Friends.
you're looking at what, 3 different studios. I don't know if they're all in the same studio. I don't think they are though. I know a lot of them are in Austin, but there's got to be a disconnect there, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
I know you're
couldn't
not
say what
CIG.
goes
I know
on
you're
in
not
the-
CIG. Right.
Yeah. But,
I know you
like-
are Chris Roberts. I've seen the name tag on him. So
Yeah. Oh
we'll
wait.
go over that.
Oh wait. Anyway, for those interested on what the result of this was,
Undercover.
Yeah, what
yeah,
was it?
Dracadius messaged us like a day or two later, and then like after further investigation, we've concluded you've done nothing wrong. Like, so nothing happened. There was no like Will came
This
at
might have been
us with an
this seems like more of a
unsubstantiated claim.
misunderstanding than anything else, but they shouldn't be using DMs. This feels like, wait, can you even access anything through Spectrum? I know you still had a ban somewhere. I saw it on your
I
profile
can't
page,
DM
right?
in Spectrum until ask me again in 2031.
Yep, we'll do. Do you still have access to like support tickets and stuff like that if they
Oh,
like
yeah,
send
yeah,
you
I
something?
do.
Okay,
They can
that's
still
what I
do
was kind of
tickets, and
wondering.
they
I've
email me.
never actually been banned in Star, so apparently not doing anything like right in that case. What is this?
Because we're not super evil griefers like Mr.
The Sylvan
Griefernet over
case.
here.
Look, so throughout this PowerPoint, I have like a couple of examples of like it's not really directly tied to moderation issues. It's more like what the heck is going on over there at CIG kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Like the Sylvan case was really weird. Sylvan was one of the passengers on the experience, the first one. He was live streaming it at the time, and when we watched the VOD after the experience was done.
Is this the guy with the like really nice smile that like?
Yeah.
Okay, right. He just like the expression. I remember the torp when it first hit. It like clapped into the laugh. It was just like it felt. I thought initially I thought he was one of you guys like streaming. It was just was his reaction.
No, he wasn't. But we liked him so much that one of our guys that used to be with us, he used it as a thumbnail.
You're talking about Carl, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I didn't want to say his name.
Not to break this up, but
There's
guys,
no secrets there.
Just want to throw it out there. Please feel free to jump into the Discord and follow us on YouTube as well.
We are not taking live callers. Just a heads up as well. We are going to keep that.
Anything about live callers?
I'm just saying. So that we don't have like 14 people in the the waiting room waiting to chat or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you have any questions, I will say if there no, there isn't. But if there are any questions, please redeem this. You can use this. This is just a system that really helps us keep track of all the questions as we go along. Just because, the chat's going at Mock Jesus right now. That's why it's even on slow mode. Even then, it's a struggle to kind of keep up. Okay. So with that being said, use that system. We'd love to answer some of your questions. As we go a little bit further, we're almost like 2 hours in. We should probably move on a little bit here. But you're talking about Sylvan continued. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Just real quick. So Sylvan, Carl made a video about the experience using his face on the thumbnail because we thought it was a nice reaction, and and Sylvan, he was very concerned, like he was speaking in his own Discord. He was very concerned that he was gonna get in trouble for that for some reason, and then he messaged and then he DM'd Carl as like an employee of the company to a customer to ask him to modify his YouTube content because to prevent professional issues at his place of work, which I thought that was kind of weird. I'm like CIG, why would this guy be afraid of that? I don't know. So that's just weird. It's not really much to do with the moderation, but
I gotcha.
Yeah, and then there's like the Mammon incident. Mammon's kind of like the EU Grieffernet. Some people say they operate a lot much the same as we do. In terms of crashing events and stuff, I
never hear about them
because they're on the other side of the sea.
So
from us,
completely different.
We hear less of that community just naturally.
Okay.
But anyway,
I'm gonna kind of shuffle the topic a little bit though. After you talk about this, wrap
Hold
up
on.
with the amendment, and then I kind of want to talk about some different things, if that's cool with you.
Yeah,
What did you want to say?
I do want to, because I don't want to be missing all the questions, right? So we do have a question from, I don't know how to say
we can see that later. We actually have the option to go through like a queue list. That's why we use that.
Oh, okay.
It
All
will
right.
be, yeah.
I'm
it
not
won't get,
familiar.
like, flooded out.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Hmm.
So just real quick to wrap this mammoth thing up. It's real fast.
That's okay.
They've been getting hit with excessive griefing throughout 2024. It got to the point where they were like super desperate. Like they wanted to try to mitigate bans as much as possible for just playing the game. And so they messaged Nikau or Nassau or however you pronounce his name, which is like the EU support rep over there. And they were like, hey, just to let you know, we're going to hit this event, but we're not going to use any streams. We're doing it through infiltration, and here's like proof. And then turns out, and then Nikau just like turned around and like told the targeted org what they were going to do. Very weird behavior.
That is
Yeah,
very
see,
weird
that's the
behavior.
part I
Like,
don't
what
get
is that?
why.
Like, you guys can't allow, so you can't allow the game to like just be the game and like let people. I don't know. That's weird. It would be strange if they had supply and demand, and I was like, oh, we're gonna hit the supply chain, and then CIG let our enemy know they're gonna hit the supply chain. Like that would just be so weird. That's a strange thing to do. That is very strange.
Yeah.
Like give them a warning.
It was really weird. It was really weird.
What does that tell you about the CIG freaking developers?
Oh.
I'm surprised they even let PvP at all, because it seems to me.
Okay, so I'm sure they'll get to it, but I'm not 100% sure. So it sounds. So this was Nikau to them. So why are you trying to disrupt as many other people's active? So obviously it's a different language. Probably just direct translate it. Why are you trying to disrupt as many other people's activities as possible during development, despite our request to calm things down? Or am I mistaken? Right. So like CIG has made it clear, like, hey, this needs to chill. Not or at least I'm assuming that based on that statement that they've asked in the past, like, hey, you guys need to chill on this.
But then Mammon went and told them.
And see that, and I'm like, it could have been up to. I'm like, what would I have considered reasonable? I would have considered reasonable having an internal conversation and being like, hey, no, we don't really want you guys hitting this. We're trying to like cool stuff down. And hell, I'd have been okay if CIG was like, hey, we need to cool stuff down. And then, like further on, be okay with the fact that this kind of stuff happens. It's just not like right now in development, it's not a tolerable situation, right? These are foundational opportunities for communities and events to be really born.
This year it's not tolerable.
Well, I mean, I'm not even saying that. What is that phrase? It probably wasn't tolerable last year, but they didn't have in the rules. And
they made the rules this year because now it's not tolerable all of a sudden after 4 years of them doing it.
I don't think it's that way. I think it was a buildup. I think that there was definitely a desire to be okay with it, and the reality is that it proved to be not a tolerable level. Right? I could totally get that, where they were like, okay, well, this is going to happen, and we're going to try to make sure the community events can handle it on their own, and that turned out to not be the case. It became too much, and the community couldn't. I'll be very direct about it. The community could not healthily handle it. Not the community, that org.
Well, I mean, that group, because I don't care. I'm part of the community. I don't care.
When I'm talking about community, I'm talking about the people that make these events happen. Right? I'm talking about all the organizations that get together to make races happen because it's a capacity and it's a drive for those individuals.
I have been trying. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
And if they feel hopeless about making events happen because they're never going to be able to have a solid event happen, right? If they're always going to have to constantly look over their shoulders, how much does bad PR need to look like before CIG has to step in and say, hey, I'm sorry, we're not okay with this anymore.
I gotta say, though, this didn't happen in the whole year we were in charge of security. This never, not even close. because we have effective PvPers and effective OPSEC. Like, I also said almost word for word what you just said to the actual racing organizers, ANSIA, when we were working with them. I was telling them, you guys need to start thinking about what's going to happen when we have 600, 800 person servers, and now you're going to have 50 to 100 people in the stands who want to come watch the race. You're going to have 50 people trying to hit it. You have another 50 people on the track, 50 people in the sky. Like, it was conversations. I was trying to. I agree with you. These people need to start thinking about it. We are. Like, think about it. We'll have to have snipers.
Not even.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, my bad. I didn't mean to. I double tapped. That was an accident.
Like just as an example, we're gonna have to start needing to have snipers watching the crowds during racing events, and that's just one thing we're gonna have to do. Think about it.
I disagree with that. I will say that I think that long term they will have better environments built for like official race events, right? So like you'll be able to have some sort of viewing stadium.
Doom and Terra.
Right. I do agree that there will be more secure locations to be able to do them.
And then when you want to do a race in Pyro, make the pot bigger because there's always a risk.
Oh yeah, and like ultimately, I don't even look at this as a like it shouldn't be done in the future. I look at this as a health of the community, right? It's like, can you imagine trying to get your and I know this is going to be a exaggeration, right? You have an antisocial friend who wants to go do PvP, right? They don't really know about it. They're not very good at it. And they go out there and they get stomped by the #1 person in the community, right? Oh, sure. Okay, maybe that was a bad experience. They try to do it again. They get stomped again. Maybe it happens a third time and a fourth time, right? At what point do the people that are not driven to go do those things say, hey, I'm not interested in doing this. Every time we try to put this shit together, it blows up in our face.
And do it somewhere else. And weed out the moles.
But that's not necessarily like you're never going to be able to weed out the moles. Like EVE Online has taught people for a very long time. There's no way to ever weed out the moles. There's always a way to have them. Right?
Listen, he's absolutely correct. You need to be prepared. You just have to have contingencies.
I have enjoyed conversations with people that have been a part of EVE for a very from the start.
Hell yeah, brother.
And they talk about the reality that I mean, I suppose the easiest way to even do it is just go look up YouTube videos. Look up pipe bombing, which is a technique in EVE Online that generally requires an awareness of where the fleet is at that you're about to ambush, right? And it does a very good sense of like all the times you see like fleet battle and ambushes, it's always from the view of somebody that was inside the organization with that fleet as a part of communication. So it's like even if you meet people, there's notorious events in EVE Online where leaders of organizations met that knew each other in person, went and met other organizations at events, and then completely betrayed them. There's
I can vouch
that sucks for them.
Yeah, so it's like at the end of the day, for me, it's like ultimately, I don't think this is going to be a big problem long term, but Griefernets and Mammon, absolutely, and I'll give credit to Mammon, right? They reached out and said, "Hey, we're trying to do this thing." CIG could have turned around and said, "Hey,
it's wimping out. It's caving."
I gotta say, argues that espionage is a valid gameplay loop, and then complains that counter espionage is also a gameplay loop. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like,
for it themselves.
My thing is that Mammon's trying to meet in the middle, right? What's Griefernets going to continue to get? Bans and suspensions, right? They're going to argue about all they want.
Keep getting banned,
But like, this is why I'm giving Mammon credit, right? They're like, Mammon's like, hey, we want to be able to do this. This is the gameplay we want to do. But I
wouldn't tell. I'm not going to tell people when I just disrupt supply chains and things like that when I can. I'm not going to tell people I'm about to pirate repel. I'm not going to do that.
But that's not what they're doing. The problem is you're downscaling something that's the whole point is it's a large scale
I'm talking on a smaller scale. I wouldn't do it on a larger scale either.
Yeah, but like
you need to be prepared. They need to be prepared
to like just deal with the bans. I mean, the whole
No,
point, so,
not
like,
not Griefernet. The people getting attacked, and you just deal with it and be prepared for it.
They think that banning is the answer. They banned their own security team. They think they can ban Griefernets. You know, it's the.
Yeah.
This whole thing is crazy to me.
It is. This
It's
is
just
wild.
absolutely crazy.
Yeah, you know, and I'm just like, look, I got high respect for Mammon trying to meet
Yeah,
Bill.
it doesn't seem
It's
like they like it too much.
Oops.
I get it. I think CIG pulled a like if they actually did leak it, which the evidence is highly suggestive of that. I think that CIG would have been better served to say, hey, we're gonna discourage you from doing that.
If CIG cares so much, send a dev there with an Idris to protect it.
Let me put it to you this way, guys, and you didn't hear it from me. Mammon wasn't the Mammon or CIG was not the one who leaked it, and you didn't hear that from me. But anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Continue.
At least the kind that don't like they don't like any sandbox PvP. So.
Yeah.
We can take this question. This is actually a real good one. From Heimdall. Let me bring that up. He asks.
I have it here. I can read that. Sir mentioned earlier that they don't utilize stream sniping, but members might independently. If a member stream snipes and relays information to Griefernets comms, how do they respond to that? Is it just not sanctioned, not our problem on a leadership level? Because if we totally didn't know it was a rogue member is the excuse, then that sets a bad precedence.
That's why I say it just gets too deep in the mud with stuff like that. That's why CIG needs to be hands off.
Okay.
That would be my response to that. They need to be hands off.
Okay.
And then it's the streamer's responsibility to protect themselves.
I was about to say that same thing too.
That would be my response to that.
So here's
we're
going to move on to the next section.
That's a hard point to sell, though.
What systems could be implemented to reduce moderation workload and improve an organic player experience? I'm talking like, what could we do to have that hands-off environment while still maintaining some sort of system that is, somewhat balanced? I'm just curious. Do you have any ideas? I have a list here. I could go over a couple. The first one we've already brought up multiple times, and I think even the last show we were talking about this. Clear and concise code of conduct in terms of service all in one location are the biggest part, I feel. Because we have the main code of conduct, which doesn't really cover a lot, which I wish it had more. The other part that I really don't like is that it's segmented between a couple of, different posts by, I think, just silo, right? So we had the main one, which is the Spectrum post here, and then I'll post the other one, which is a reply to Syl. So it's not even like an official post that is like the headline of it. It's more of a comment on a post to kind of clarify. And it doesn't really even clarify it. It's even more vague as the language behind it's just not super clear. That's the issue that I have with it.
Oh, this is the Syl. I see.
Yeah, this is the Syl one.
This is the one where we did the podcast on. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that was that was the issue that we had to begin with, was that even though we all like all the other orgs, I mean, realistically, I think Griefernet is really unique in what they do, right? Because we all pretty much don't target events and stuff like that. But we have the concern, right? Because it's like, oh, here's a vagueness. We can decide that this is excessive griefing. Then you have so yeah, that's what this is really just kind of centered around.
It's a hard problem to tackle because it's such a cultural issue now in terms of like the player community. Because now it's gone to the point where what Griefernet does is reportable to these people, like to the players that we attack. Because it's reportable simply by the virtue of us being there.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I mean,
it's just us being there.
Here's my other thing. So why is it just me? Maybe it's just me, but it seems like CIG is definitely is getting more. They're really like tightening the noose or something, right? They're getting so. What is going on there? Like, what is the concern? Because is it they're afraid that you're actually killing gameplay, like and there's going to be less people willing to play as a result? Or because from my experience, from what I can tell, that's not the case. I mean, you guys have existed, done these things, and it never killed gameplay in the past. In fact, I would say if they want to ban anyone, they should ban master modes. That seems to be killing gameplay
if
the
only
most.
master modes was a person, right?
Yeah. So I mean, is that the concern? Like, is this just like a knee jerk reaction to try to like, oh, we don't want to scare people away, and Griefernet is the bad guy, right?
You're the boogeyman of the verse at that point. I mean, you could type Griefernet victory into a server, and there's a handful of people that will just we actually do that. If we need one of our guys to get into a full server, we'll type Griefernet victory into the global, and people will drop out, and our guy will get right in.
It's no longer 30. It's no longer 30K. It's just Griefernet victory now.
That's crazy.
So, do you think they could replace the? I don't know. Instead of having 30-day bans, could they put you into like a max security like prison cell in the verse and have it be the most difficult way to get out of the like game? Do you think if they had like systems like that in place and like proper wanted levels and all that, do you think that could be better? I don't know. What do you think?
I would be okay.
That's a lot of theory
with
crafting.
with any sort of in-game solution that they want to make. I would jump through so many hoops.
I would rather have
however many hoops they want us to jump through. I will do it, and I will be happy to do it because it's better than being banned.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying the biggest issue you have realistically is that you just don't give you any clear definition, and that continues to be the problem.
Yeah, they don't give us anything to work with, and I'm not gonna like just stop playing the game, which is what they want us to do. So
I don't think they want us to stop playing the game.
When you guys get a ban, are you surprised?
Right. Currently? Well, we're
like, does it surprise you? Does it shock you?
Or do you just like accept the consequences of what's already happened? You know,
like yes and no,
question.
right? Since we've received it before, we're not surprised in that fact, like in that matter. But yes, as in like this, especially this latest occurrence, like Beyond Zia, they need to unban us for that. That's ridiculous. There was no harassment. We hit them once. How could it be harassment? We stayed at Miner's Lament. We let them come to us. How is that harassment? No streams were leveraged. It was infiltration, which is allowed explicitly and told to us multiple times by Xylo, by RSI, and by Dracadius.
So is the message here that you're all just can't exist?
That's what it seems like they're trying to tell us, man. And it sucks because we're really utilizing their game to its fullest potential currently in life, in my opinion.
So the question is, given the current trend where the bans have been a little bit longer and longer each time, last time it was a week, right? This time it was a month. Do you think that's going to continue to grow to like a larger length?
I don't know. I'm hoping this podcast will enact some change, maybe.
So my impression, I mean, other than if this makes any difference here, but my impression is that they're making a statement. They're saying first ban 7 days, second 30, next ban
2 months, 3 months, maybe.
Yeah, and the ban, what they're doing is they're progressively building some form of a case to say at some point we're going to remove you from the game altogether.
That's what I was wondering too.
It hasn't progressed that way quite.
Okay.
Quite like that. Like
I do think if they continue to push it, they will.
Followed by like following long bans. Like.
Yeah. Okay.
So. I don't know.
Stop hitting charity events for dogs. Have you ever had the fear that John Wick is going to come after you? Sorry.
Guys, the charity thing only
banning based on opinions and emotions will end in legal actions at some point. That's exactly what it is. This they're banning on is opinions and emotions. It's 100%.
Every ban is always that in the end.
No, like if they're exploiting and doing a duping bug to make money and cheating the system that they is a known bug, though, that's an exploit. Pad ramming is actual griefing. This isn't actual griefing.
Yeah, but pad ramming isn't exploiting anything.
It's actual griefing. It's not letting someone leave their hangar, period. Not even able to experience the game. That's like if you stop someone from being able to even experience the game by over and over pad ramming them, and they can never leave Everest or
but
whatever.
Pad ramming once is a bannable offense.
Oh, it shouldn't be.
Okay, let me retract that statement. I have to go do research before I can actually state that definitively. But pataramming very quickly turns into a ban.
That's a Planet of
That
the
I
Apes
know
reference.
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's always scale and number. You're right about that.
About it. It's content. Okay. So,
Okay, this might be more directed toward like PvP and not so much like moderation. But do you think that CIG needs to paint a clear picture of the image when you leave your hab or your hangar in the verse? That is when you first sign up for PvP. Do you think they do a good enough job of doing that, or does that need to be pushed a little bit more? Because it is an open sandbox universe.
I think
And
they need to
PvP
do
is
a
gonna
lot
happen.
more I think they need to do a lot if they want this sandbox PvP element to exist, which currently doesn't seem like they want it to. But if they do want it to exist, they need to communicate that to the rest of the player base, because currently that is not what the player base thinks. The player base thinks that the best way to secure themselves from unconsensual PvP is to report people, and it's working for them.
Yeah, I mean, and you get a lot of like these Spectrum posts about like PvP sliders and stuff like that, but like realistically, the vision. And I'm not even joking.
Like
I know it's funny, but I'm not even joking. Like that's what like people want to see.
Fuck
I mean,
that.
we've come up with solutions, right? It's not on us that they haven't gotten far enough in development to have any of these solutions, but we come up with solutions like high security, medium security, low security, no security systems.
I agree with that.
Right, risk and reward, things like that. Like PvP, the PvP slider should be high risk, high reward, or low risk, low reward. Right, realistically, that's the slider. I mean, it's been verbalized that it's supposed to be a dangerous game, right? You're not just supposed to be in a, wrapped in bubble wrap and be able to fly along safely. Like they literally had a whole freaking patch that basically was the pirate sweat dream, and that's physicalized cargo. If they didn't want some sort of PvP and pirating, then there would be no need for physicalized cargo, right? So sorry to those who don't like it, but like PvP is meant to be part of the game.
It's here to stay too,
Yeah, I mean it is.
The reality of it.
Although it seems, this is the impression I'm getting, and I'm sorry to take over, but the impression I'm also getting is that what you have is you have the overall like view of what like Chris Roberts or and whoever else maybe he works with, I don't know, that he wants this to be this way, right? And then you have higher ups within the company that don't actually like that, so that they're trying to limit it as and do these things as much as possible because they don't like the idea. They're the PvE players. That's the impression I get.
That's a good thought. It's a really good thought.
I could be way off base with that.
Say that one more time.
No, I think that's
what was he saying? I'm sorry.
He feels like Chris Roberts wants it to be like every way he was just saying, but there's higher ups in CIG, not higher than Chris Roberts, but there's devs in CIG that don't like the whole PvP aspect. They're trying to do all of this.
I disagree, but I can see why people would perceive it that way.
Yeah.
Let me retract that. I think there are voices on both sides of the fence, just like you and I when we have our discussions, right? It's a valuable part of why we have our discussions, is that it is probably very representative of discussions at CIG in terms of considerations, and then somebody at the end of the day has to make the decision, right? Somebody somewhere has to essentially be the executioner. Like, this is where things are happening. Yeah, these people are probably not going to like it, and those people are probably not going to like it, but this is where it is right now. And obviously, I will say this when it comes to them being told what they can and cannot do. I have almost never seen a game where community events were protected, as to say, where it was a defined line in the sand where they could and couldn't do it. It was just basically like, you need to make your best judgment, and if you're not sure, you probably shouldn't do it. And it's not fair, and nobody likes that, but a lot of times it's just done that because otherwise what happens is people are like, well, we didn't quite cross the line, right? It's just like, all right, we'll make a judgment call. Yeah, you're gambling. If you think
there is no line, though. There is no line. Oops.
Yeah, see, and then I'm not sure I necessarily believe that 100%, but with how they handled Mammon, I'm like, I also don't think that they're necessarily acting in best faith. I think that again, CIG should have just turned around and said, "Hey, we're not really interested in you doing this for this event," and maybe burgeoning that into a healthier conversation. But they didn't. I'm not saying they didn't like whether or not they spelled it, but just the fact that they didn't turn around to have that conversation and be okay with saying, "Hey, we really want things to chill out. So we do not we're discouraging. We're going to tell you really don't want to go do this."
Yeah.
Not as like but I don't know how they could have done that without it coming off like a threat, right? It's like, oh, they're threatening us if we don't, it's like,
yeah,
they might have a real reason behind the scenes. They're very aware of something else going on, perception wise, that they're like, hey, it's not that we don't want things like this to actually happen, but this is too much. It is becoming a problem, and we need things to chill out for a while. And that might have even been they might have even had that conversation with Esper and Griefernets somewhere. And Griefernets just kind of just said, well, no, we want to keep doing what we want to keep doing. And then CIG basically.
Well, CIG hasn't been like, hasn't done that, but like, hey, chill out for now, and then do it later. They haven't said that though. He would have shown it if he would have shown it though. If
that was in the when Mammon's thing was up that he had a copy of, it said explicitly in there they wanted him to chill out. They wanted things to basically
not to Esper though.
Well, yeah, but I mean, Esper looks at it and points out what Mammon did, right? Esper saw the message. It doesn't have to be messaged directly to Griefernet. Griefernet basically said Mammon's the equivalent. If they told Mammon, Griefernet should have. There's no reason Griefernet couldn't take that as a cue, right? It's like if my neighbor gets arrested for breaking the law, and I can't just be like, well, they didn't tell me to not break the law. It's like one person's an example.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, sorry. This is more than I meant to make that.
No, you're good.
The first thing they need to do is they need to create like a base sandbox game that utilizes PvP as like the solid foundation to stand on, because once you build that foundation, everything else can work around it, because conflict is going to be a natural part of the verse. Look at EVE Online, it's constantly happening. You're seeing like org wars and everything else, and eventually once we get those numbers, we need that here too. It's just the reality of it.
I mean, if you want, I'm sorry, one more comment. If you guys want, if CIG really wants to help the PvE community, you guys need to start putting some effort into actually creating those in-game safeguards, the things that you've been promising. I mean, that's the real way to do it.
Automated systems is what they need.
And we're not against it. We're not against it. We want it to be difficult. We don't want this like super easy free-for-all. We want challenge. You know what I mean? So I'm not against that stuff. It's put it there, work on it, develop it. Like that needs to happen. All right, go ahead. Please.
No, it's fine. I was going to say what we need is that in the first place, be more hands off, because right now it feels like we're getting a little bit of overreach with a lot of stuff that we've been seeing, whether it be, how they deal with, situations like golden tickets. That's a completely different story. But like how they handle, our
I wonder what happened there. Did you hear anything about golden tickets?
What was he saying about golden tickets?
He said that whole situation was golden tickets, but we're not going to get into that. Wait, what?
Is he talking? I wonder if he's talking about the whole Bearhead situation.
What was that?
Where it was the Stan will probably know this better than I am, but he's not in here at the moment.
Yeah.
I think it was like something like Halloween hats or something like that, where spawning is golden tickets. So like golden ticket spawns were way out of balance, but then the hats or the helmets or whatever weren't spawning. I think that's what that was about.
Like arguments in the first place. Make it so that automated turrets are firing at ships if someone's trying to like steal cargo from my SCD-1 or something like that. It needs to be like that.
Yeah.
We need clear and concise rules. We need to make sure that there is some sort of system where, like, say someone is streaming, they have a way to be anonymous. And that should be a matter of not having the comms list the way it is. It's just a poor system. You should be able to just search a name and then see if you can add them. You already have like systems implemented where you can hide like party invite indicators, friend request indicators. That should also be included,
Yeah.
And then from there, you know, that I don't know. That would be what I would do personally.
Yeah, and I want to jump on this as well. And like the reason why I'm so critical CIG is because realistically, I love the game and I love what you guys are doing.
Yep.
And I want to see it succeed. And it's like it's literally like what I dreamed of as a kid for a game, right? And I want it to all come together. Like, and if there was any way, honestly, the PvP community, and I'm sure you guys know, you guys like in Shadow Moses Discord, you guys are in communication with them, stuff like that. Like, we're not over here saying, oh, it should just be some easy free for all for us. Like, I'd be willing to give my input on what I think. So some things you could do, you know, and that would actually help PvEers and make things challenging for us because I want the challenge, you know. So like for constructive criticism. Right. I get passionate because I care about the game, you know, and sometimes we get disappointed. Right. So
I do have a couple of questions if I can bring these up. This one is from Expat. What is Spur's view on the out of game post grief harassment in Discord and video content? What is its purpose within the realms of this game? Is that classified as PvP? Now I got one from Heavy Bob after this.
Oh, she's asking what is
I'll reread it if that's okay.
There's an issue with us like making videos after the fact.
Well, okay. So what is it? So she says your view on out of game post grief harassment in Discord and video content. Like, what is the What is the purpose?
Is it propaganda?
A little poisoning
or like...
the well there, expat, because I wouldn't call that post grief harassment. It's just
so
we
what
make
is it,
video content because it's funny, it's fun, it's entertaining. About the stuff that we do.
Yeah.
And in fact, I mean, let's just go back. You know, if I want to cite sources here, okay, he wants us to do that. CIG would rather us do it in people's discords anyway. So
yeah, good point. That's funny.
So yeah.
Okay.
I have no issues with the videos. I don't know why anybody would. Like boasting videos for bravado and stuff like that. That's been like an element of PvP since time immemorial, since the first player killed another player. You know.
Here's a question from Heavy Bob. I'm gonna kind of like speed run this a little bit, but I do like where our focus is right now. Thank you for the answer. Thank you, Expat, for asking. The next question is: when did Griefernets learn about the Anzia racing event? Was it before this week in Star Citizen or after?
Yeah, so let's go back to that because I have it right here. So
or this week inside Star Citizen, that's what it is.
Yeah, so it turns out this event was spotlighted on RSI website. We didn't know that until after the fact. But as Dracadius told us, it doesn't matter if something's sponsored. But anyway, we knew about it on the 14th. You see the time date right here on the screenshot of we're gonna burn it in here, but it's whatever. Mm-hmm. This was our infiltration vector for this event. We knew this was existing on the 14th. Okay, we were in on their security orgs, right? The spotlight announcement happened on the 19th, so we knew about this before it was ever spotlighted. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Do you want me to? I'll jump on another question.
Yeah, let's do that.
We got one from Z. Z, why are they trying to rewrite a wheel when they have a car, a game on cinder blocks? Yeah, yep. They could just look at systems in other games and implement them as a baseline and innovate on them.
I wish they would do that more, man. I wish they would be the world. Like, I wish they would just take a lot. Like, there's so many elements from EVE Online that I just want copy pasted. It's not even funny.
100%. Yeah.
You know
there
what?
Were so many things that they could be utilizing from that.
It's funny that Z's saying that too, because I was talking about that the other day. It's like I understand like he wants it to be his own unique thing, but there's some things that just work. And realistically, you don't have to reinvent the wheel on everything. Like you can take things from previous games. Like what are you gonna do? Like is somebody gonna come out with an MMO, right? And that takes place in Renaissance area and be like, we can't use orgs and trolls because those have been used in the past. You know what I mean? Like some things you can reuse, and I agree with that. Like stop trying to reinvent the wheel. Like
the inventory system at 324 is a case study of like reinventing the wheel. Like
yeah, exactly.
So
like it's not necessary.
It feels more like it's a placeholder system until we get like lockers. As far as I mean, the entire damn game is a placeholder. Don't get me wrong. But what I'm trying to say is that it's a placeholder for a new system. Again? I would assume so. They have like lockers at some point they'll probably do. I would rather have just a physicalized locker that I just interact with and boom, there you go.
Yeah. I mean, they've been developing. I'm sorry, I'm just throwing. They've been developing the actual movement of you in action, of you taking your helmet and physically putting it on your head. So, like, that's cool, but like, it's a bit much. And honestly, I could do without that development.
You're a bit much.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Next question says, does it seem like there's been a change in stance on PvP in game from their original plan? If yes, what do you think changed?
I think so.
It does feel like the era about that has kind of shifted a little bit. I do agree. Yeah. What exactly? I can't really put my finger on it though.
I don't know. We didn't have any of these issues last year, and now we are this year.
It feels like they've gotten softer. I think this is what I think. I think that the change is that they've shifted their view from like a passion project to a corporate conglomerate type. Try to get as many people in this game and just kind of like, you know, I think Massimo is an example of that. We're trying to make everything so everyone will want to come in and play and have as many players in there. I think it's changed, and I think it's a result.
Here's what I think.
Yeah,
I agree with that in general. Here's what I think specifically. They are sacrificing the spirit of their game for quote unquote a good experience, and to them that means people not having negative emotion.
Yeah, and you know what's ironic about that is so they've been massively successful in the past with almost no advertising, right? And since that shift from what I can tell is happening, it's actually started falling off. And I don't think that's just a result of poor development or bugs, because the bugs have always been an issue, right? I think it's a result of them trying to like make it more of a mass marketable game, and they're not doing it right. I think so. I agree.
Add on to that, it looks like Murph had asked, do you think they are circling to keep cash flowing into the project as a whole? To some extent, it does kind of give off that when you have events like the F8C in the F7 like A marketing, just the way those were driven feels almost like an act of desperation, but I can't, confirm that. That's the personal take on that one.
Yeah, I don't know. It kind of gets into tinfoil after a while.
Yeah. A lot of theory crafting over there.
We have a few more. Let me just see if we can just get through these. The Bearded Blink said, it sounds like you use EVE Online as a sandbox PvP metric to shoot for. Would you say some of the other EVE systems would be beneficial too? For instance, kill mails and other character reputation tracking for OPSEC.
Oh my God! Let's list off for an hour here. I want the pros. I want the whole player economy. I want the manufacturing. I want the planetary manufacturing that they do. All the sort of mining mechanics, the blops, dude. Oh my God, the Sino mechanics. Like I want so much of it, and I also want stuff from Elite Dangerous. Like, guys, you know how cool it would be if we had Elite Dangerous's Super Cruise mechanics and interdiction mechanics?
Yeah, that was one of the things.
Think of how alive this
like a proper skill based like mechanic.
If you saw ships physically traversing between the celestial bodies, and that you're actively hunting towards that instead of just sitting there with the bubble up and just hoping someone crosses your path and you have no idea if that's ever going to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
That's just so much.
And I want to. Oh, sorry. I was gonna say I want to jump on the EVE Online thing too. I think EVE and also Elite Dangerous is a good example that I know like you want to reach a mass player base, right? But I think those two are good examples of what keeps the game alive. And the PvPers keep the games going. They don't go away because they like the challenge, right? Like I know people are like, oh, you're only like 1% of the community, but at the same time, it's like I've been in Elite Dangerous, and the PvP community is rather freaking strong there, and they're sticking around, and it's like an Eve, obviously, right? Like so, don't like you want the game to last. You want longevity as well, right? You got to balance that more. You can't just keep all the PvEers happy.
Here's a question from Kisiman. He says, my experience with Griefer until recently has been mostly negative, but do they consider camping over planet side actual PvP? Honest question.
Camping over planet side?
Planet side, maybe like camping certain locations. I'm thinking probably, good example would be staking out a certain location to try and capture a player. I would say yes.
Camping is the go-to for most every PvPer right now because there's no tools for us to go look for players.
Yeah. Oh, I'm one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Realistically.
So like it or not, camping is just what we have to do to get our gameplay.
Oh, here's a good one. Expat. This is, I think this is a fair question. Without compromising your org strategy, what are some things that that events could do to protect themselves in both Discord and game from attack? Any tips or tricks from the man himself?
It's a really good question.
That is a good question. You want to throw him something?
You want some trade secrets?
Oh, here it is.
How much are you offering?
Hey, how many credits are you going to offer?
No, if I were to say, I'll say one thing. If I were to say one thing, it would be compartmentalize.
Yep.
Okay, that's actually a really good tip. Honestly, come to think of it, honestly, that guy, I could do a lot with that personally. Yeah, that's a solid tip.
Here's another question from Expat. Griefernets have likely been successful in unearthing certain mechanics that can be used against players that many may not know about. Does Griefernets actively contribute to educating CIG in these things using the bug reporting system to help the community? So if, like, say there's an exploit or bug that you use repeatedly, are you using like the issue console reports to make sure that it's fixed in like later patches?
Yeah, as a whole, that's not our focus, but I'm sure there are some individuals that have done that. I know one of our members, Griefer1, has done quite a few issue council reports and reporting bugs and stuff to CIG, but as a whole, we don't focus on that. We're here for our enjoyment.
Sure. Yep, that's fair. It's enough time spent on a broken, alpha to put that much more, effort into it.
Yeah.
All right. Good answer.
So I kind of want to pivot to something a little bit more positive.
Let's hear it. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So here are some things that I have noticed that we really appreciate, and it's kind of like the spice of life that we want to see in the game. And like it's gonna be a meme. It's gonna be funny because we meme this guy all the time. Pretty much the whole PvP community. Our boy Enigma from ITC. Okay, that guy is a man. We've crushed those guys so many times. So many orgs have crushed these guys over and over and over. But man, they are resilient. If I gotta give them props, they are a resilient bunch. They come back over and over and over. I haven't had any issues with them reporting. I don't think they do any reporting, which is awesome. They have Enigma has gone out and tried to form like an alliance and like an intel network with other like-minded orgs of his kind, like a lawful orgs. Great to see. I love that, dude. And like there's other orgs, like any other org that doesn't do reporting basically, and they're trying to use in-game ways to mitigate the main antagonist that is Griefernets. Ashen Initiative, they're not really, we're friendly with Ashen Initiative for the most part. Spec Snipers, we don't really like the guy. I don't know if he does any reporting, but if he doesn't, props to him. Vex from Spectre Security Contracting, I don't think he does any reporting.
Yeah, he does.
And like any of the other, we've hit so many orgs. We've hit like 32 events we've crashed since the experience back in late January.
Yep.
And only now, recently in this last week, has the 31st event has caused a ban. So
So as far as like ratios go, it seems like the mass reporting is kind of still in the minority, correct? Like 2 events
Yeah,
out
but
of
when it happens, it's a big issue.
like when it rains,
30
it actually
days for
storms,
28
right?
people, it's
So
ridiculous.
30 is the limit. Can I just highlight what you said? So using in-game mechanics and finding a way to fight back rather than just reporting because it hurts your feelings.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically,
just because your security
like
fails
that's
does not
cool.
mean,
Yeah, that's cool.
because
That's
your
really
security
cool. Like,
fails
yeah.
does not give you the ethical high ground to mass report people.
Yeah,
You know?
that's really cool that they're doing that. Yeah, we're on ads.
Personally, I would rather have, this is a highlighted section in the transcript, but I would rather have that hands-off approach that we're talking about, where even Xylo said, you know, a PvP solution to in-game conflict should be the way you reach a resolution.
I wish what they said would actually
I wish
be
that
what
were the
was
case. I
in
know.
reality, though.
But I would rather have that kind of hands-off environment. MO2 does it. I know that it has its problems, but I feel like I'd rather be dealing with that than dealing with, you know, issues with moderation and support teams. You know what I mean? Where it crosses over into the IRL.
Yeah.
Evidence we don't moderate.
I agree.
Could have played ads during your intermission, you dumb. Fair point. Sorry, I found that funny.
We're kind of reaching
my internet died.
the end of these
How
slides
dare you.
here, but the one point I want to make is, like, people say, "Oh, you have a reputation, Griefernets,
We're almost
therefore
done.
you are justified in having your account access taken away." I feel like that's such a bad view to look at what do you like? Here's what reputation should cost Griefernet. It should be social consequences. Like, it should be like, it's harder to form a relationship with other orgs, or it's harder to do business. It shouldn't mean to the community or CIG.
It should be impacted by in-game consequences as opposed to.
It shouldn't mean to people like, oh, well, they're
I
just free
agree.
game to report, and it
They're
shouldn't
going
mean to
to.
CIG
I
where they
guarantee
just
it.
don't do a thorough
It's
job
just
in
the systems
investigating
in for it or not in
something
yet.
is actually
Yeah.
rule breaking or
And
not.
that's CIG's fault, though.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
My opinion on it is, you're
they're
right.
gonna manage
I
in
don't
the way they
think
can manage
just
to the
because
point where
you
it's
have a
at.
reputation is grounds for banning, but I do view it as, like, at the same time, you can't be surprised because you have a reputation. Does that make sense?
Yep. You
know
kind
what I
of
mean?
like,
Yeah, no, you
I'm
can't
not
have a
saying it's
surprise
right.
Pikachu face.
Yeah, I'm not saying
you
it's
made your
right.
bed and laying in it kind of, situation.
Yeah,
You know?
it's like, oh, big shock. You know what I mean? When you say that you got banned, I'm not surprised by it. You know?
I mean, there's right, but there's not being surprised, and there's like
It
actually
being
being
right.
banned. You know, it's still not right. Just because we're not surprised that it happened, we're not surprised that we're the bad guys, and people think we're the bad guys and don't like the bad guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's the image we want to cultivate. We are we're the terrorists of Stanton.
I do have another podcast question. I play Rust, so I know what it feels like and have enjoyed
hold on.
running some days with some people.
Restless, like 3 seconds ago, 4 seconds ago, you'll see that Mammon post. I can tell you right there where despite asking you guys to calm down,
I saw that. I saw the
okay,
mask
all right.
thing. Yeah.
All right. I wasn't sure. I was gonna highlight it.
Oh no, I saw where they asked to please calm down or whatever it said. I saw it.
Despite what many think, I enjoy PvP, but even I know when enough is enough. Have there been instances of internal moderation by the org to crack down on individuals you may have felt went over the line?
Enough and enough is different to other people. Lines are different to other people.
Griefernet.
Oh yes. Over the last 2 years, especially, I've been cutting down on people's certain behavior. Because there were individuals that were doing a little bit too much, and I didn't like it.
Last 2 years, huh?
Okay.
It was anything pad ramming, hanger killing. We've stopped those entirely, and they get their ass chewed out when they do it, and I find out. Any fucking around with people in hard armistice. We don't mess with people in hard armistice. There have been events that have come to my attention that are like, my guys are like, hey, we could play around with that. We could kind of goof around with that event. And it's like hard armistice. It's all going to be a hard armistice. And I'm like, no, Ito, we're not doing that. We're not fucking around a hard armistice. We're going to avoid
Do you have a time code for this
Okay,
part?
so soft armistice is fair game though, right?
207.
Pad ramming. Okay.
Weapons
Thank you.
free. Yeah.
The moment you leave that hangar, it's fair game.
Yeah,
I
as
feel
far
like
as I'm
people are going to be
concerned.
shocked to hear this and be like, wait a minute, so you guys don't just have no emotion and ruthless killing in your minds and you actually have some rules? No way.
Right. There's some like,
Yeah.
order.
I'm not
like,
gonna lie, guys. There have been individuals in my org that have stream sniped a lot individually, and we've cut
Yeah.
down. I've cut down on that a lot.
I can attest to that. I've seen, because I've known you for I think a year or two now, and I have seen people get pushed out of the org or things have happened. He's definitely not lying. Like if there's one thing about Sfer I could say, he's not a liar. He's an asshole,
Yeah.
but he's not a liar.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do we have it?
Oh,
go ahead.
sorry. Go ahead. I was gonna say nothing.
Oh, I was just gonna say we probably should start wrapping it up. If anything,
we should. Yeah. So
yeah,
I was going to say,
do we have more to go before we do that? Like, do you have?
I think we're at a good point. I think we came to a conclusion that the issues are the underlying ones from before. I've reached out to some of the members from the team and like DMs to see if we could have like an active conversation. Sadly, they never got back to us. And, I understand that there was like a time you were talking about this where they're cutting back on their Discord presence because there was a little bit of like IRL, or probably like job issues,
Yeah, the CIG was not satisfied with their community outreach to our side of the field.
Sure.
Due to various reasons, like there's animosity in the community due to how they have treated us.
I wonder if they're trying to dial that back just slightly. I'm thinking from like a professional standpoint, maybe that is more damage control, trying to make sure that, they're upholding themselves to a standard. If there's going to be any communications that needs to be through official lines, so there's no miscommunications or no like issues, right? That might be the case.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I don't know. I just
Elder.
It sucks. It sucks that the game has so much potential, and I feel like we're really living that potential of the game right now. Griefernet is, and we're being punished for it. And if I were to end this stream on anything, I would say, fucking unban us. It's just ridiculous, guys. But yeah.
Okay. With that being said, we are going to call it there, guys. Tonight's episode will be on YouTube tomorrow.
Good video.
What's a good video?
Too long didn't read or too long didn't watch is Griefernets sad. Oh.
Seems so.
I mean, I kind of.
What happened?
Hold on. The idea that they're sad because whatever. What my response is to that personally is like, yeah, who's going to who to complain about what? Ultimately, at the end of the day, I kind of do look at it as like Griefernet dug their grave, and they made their bed and they have to lay in it. Like, whether or not it's fair is not my point, but they were warned that they needed to not be doing these things, and they went and did them anyway. And it's CIG's. They're allowed to at any point that they choose to enforce or not enforce particular aspects, and we don't know necessarily what what was the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak.
They're not. No. They need to have rules for people that paid for a product, and you're gonna withhold them from that product that they paid for. You need to have set rules. You cannot. That's wrong to just ban someone for the way they're playing with something that they paid for.
Yeah, but that's a two-way street. At what point does your fun or somebody else's fun get to override the other person? Right?
And
That's
and
why
I know
it needs
I'm
to
a
be a
broken
line.
record.
That's why it needs to be a rule.
I know I'm a broken record, but like I could not get past like the entire time to me, it was okay. Yeah, espionage is a valid gameplay loop. Then complains that counter espionage is a thing. Like,
what are you talking about? Counter espionage? The reporting?
From being tracked from their info, like they mentioned, we've lost friend groups, especially in the last 2 years. We're getting tracked. We're getting her stuff. That's all us. That's all because of us. Like, my favorite that part at 2:07:30. I'm gonna have to put that. I might clip that and put that on my fucking profile. Like that's oh, that's beautiful. I gotta be honest. Don't fall for that. Oh, we didn't know. There's Griefernet knows. They know. We've said the same thing to them. It's also on my profile. It's on our org page.
I'm not falling for anything, but they made some very strong points.
Now that I agree with. That's the thing. I actually
agree with
a lot of Griefernet's point. Yeah, I do too, 100%. And I wish we could tell them that.
Maybe they'll catch the stream or something. I'll pop it on YouTube. But
yeah.
No, I agree with a lot of it. That's why I've never was mad at the whole Min thing. The only thing I got mad at was the Discord. I don't give a fuck if you're stream sniping the PvP. It does not bother me. But yeah. But I also understand, and like he was saying earlier about it was defined as a PvP sandbox game, and that's what it is.